Hey, hey, hey. I am back again with another show, Chit Chattin, on a Monday evening. Sorry that I've not put an advert out before. I've had a lot of things on today at the moment, and it really was a last minute thing to get this all organised. But I'm here, which is great. Hopefully get a few panellists on this evening. We do have a presentation from Rude Earther that will be coming up shortly from his observations over in Liverpool. So I'll be giving him a call in a moment to bring him onto the show. But in the meantime, let's say hello to Chris Matt, who was first in. Beat you there, Rude Earther. Half human, half zombie was next in with Internet Police Nick L. Papa John Watson. Colin Dresser, C. Confined, Cleary, and Amanda Young. Nice to see you guys in. Crazatuns or something. SC Confined, Rory McFizz, Flat Earth. My Realm. Kango 24, and yeah, I think that's everybody at the moment. Flatwalker, nice to see you in as well. Okay, right, let's get some guests in first so we can have a little chat about these observations that have been happening over in Liverpool. Let's get Rude Earther on in.
Yo.
Yo. How was it going, my friend?
Sorry, my mate. I just had the volume on my computer going then. Yeah, I'm all good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It was a bit of a rough week last week, to be honest. But, you know, bit of a rough weekend. But back, ready to go. And new week, new things on the horizon, you know. How's things for you?
On the horizon. Yeah, well, you know, I've been doing quite a bit of observing lately.
I do.
And I just wanted to do a little presentation of just a little taster of what I've found. Obviously, I'm not going to present my best footage that I've had so far, but an opportunity arose today. I was out in one of the local towns, Rill, and as I was driving down the prom, I saw Liverpool off in the distance, and I just happened to have my trusty P1000 on the back seat. And I thought, well, why not jump out and do a little observation? And what I saw was quite shocking, considering I was, you know, as the crow flies, I'm sort of 4 or 5 miles further down the coast. It's an 8-mile drive anyway, along from my normal position. But yeah, as the crow flies, it's about 4.5 miles further along the coast.
Okie dokie. Right, the hand's here apparently. And Roxanne, the gobbiest denier, nice to see you in. Right. So you've been out, you've been driving. We had a bit of rain here though today, and we don't live that far away from you. Did it rain where you were today?
No, it didn't rain at all. No, not. That's what I'm saying. The footage isn't amazing because it was quite claggy. I mean, I went out a few days ago. It was about 3 or 4 days ago on a low tide, and it was quite a cool day. And got some amazing footage. I mean, it was awesome. When I bring this video out, it's going to be spectacular. There'd be no questioning it because the way I'm lining it up using other other targets on the land and stuff like that, you won't be able to question where these places are. And yeah, it'll be an eye opener anyway, to say the least. There's already so much going on, mate, because when I'm looking where I'm looking, according to Google Earth, we shouldn't ever see the mountains in the distance anyway. And I mean, I know they're going to claim refraction and stuff like that. So a couple of years ago, I actually bought an altimeter. It's just like a manual one. It's not a digital one. So I've started to put that into my presentations now. You know, as I'm filming live, I'm starting to introduce that into the front of the camera now as well. So the real anal globers can get onto their refraction calculator, if you like, and see what they can come up with, because all the information will be there to see. Like I say, this is just going to be a taster of what's to come.
Awesome. Well, I'll put that on in just a moment. I'll share the screen so that you can sort of narrate, because I know that there's no narration of the video as yet. But
that's right. Yeah.
You're going to walk us through that. I just want to. There is a lady in chat called My Realm. Now, if you guys can see her in the chat, I've got my cursor right next to her there. She does live streams, and I believe she's around about 100 subscribers right now. So, you know, just a little shout out here to a new Flat Earth channel on the scene. If you get the opportunity, head on over, subscribe, find her on YouTube. The name is here, My Realm, and give her a thumbs up, subscribe to her, and have a little listen to what she's saying, because she wants to do this more often if you listen to her videos. So big shout out to My Realm. Right, okay, so I'll get this video up ready to play, and you tell me what points to stop on, etc, etc.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so let's get that paused. Okay, here we go. I'll drag it over. I'll share my screens in just a second. Right. Okay, so you should see my screen right now.
Yeah. Well.
Are you watching it on the re-upload, or are you watching it on the Skype call?
Oh yeah, I've got you now.
Yeah, if you watch it on the Skype call, you can see it as we play it.
Yeah, I've got you now, mate.
Okay, so part 1 says elevation with a tripod of 16 foot ASL. Do you want to tell the audience what that means?
So basically, my tripod, I put a video on today on my channel with a measurement of my tripod, and I think it was about, let me see, I wrote it down somewhere. It's a couple of feet high. It's about 2.2 feet high from the centre of the lens to the ground, the tripod. So, and on Google Earth, it states my elevation as absolute being 12 feet. So I just put 16 feet in there, so it's a bit of a buffer.
Okay.
If you like.
So I'm sure you're going to show us the distances involved in all of this. So let me play the video a little bit, and you tell me when to stop. What's the important part here? So if I stop here, so you're at the Beaches Hotel, right?
Yeah, well, it's not really even playing on my screen. Oh yeah, there we go. Right, I'm at the Beaches Hotel in Preston. Got my first position as 16 feet above sea level, and you can see all my lines of sight going off into the distance, and each one of those lines is connected to a target off in the distance that I've been seeing daily under varying conditions. All these targets that I've marked are there pretty much 99% of the time, every day, under any condition. So if you let it roll on,
okay,
it'll show you from a higher point of view, I think.
Okay, so this is you.
This is me going onto the beach. So I wanted to record as I go down the steps, and everyone can see exactly where I am.
Yeah.
You can see the Sands Hotel. If you let it play through now, you'll just see it come up as marking as the Sands Hotel on the right and the positioning on the steps.
Here's a good marker for confirmation.
It's called the Beaches Hotel. It used to be called the Sands. It's called the Beaches. I always call it the Sands.
Okay, well, here's a good visual marker. You can see some humans off in the distance. They're not far off the shoreline, actually. And if you guess them at being 6 feet, let's say, you could probably get around between 14 and 16 feet, I would say, before they would actually get to the horizon if you scaled them up. So what did you give here? You give was it 16 feet, I believe? So I'd say that's pretty accurate, to be fair. I mean, you can see that down here. So let's play the video anyway. Let's see what we've got to see. So this is the Beaches Hotel in Prestatyn.
Yeah.
And let's see what we see.
Sorry, it just lost my phone, lost connection then.
No worries.
So yeah, it's gone up into the higher point of view here now, so you can actually visualize the lines of sight going off into the distance. And if you look on the left hand side, that would be my line of sight from the observation I did in Rill today, but we'll get to that towards the end. Okay. So if you let it play through, it'll carry on towards the targets.
Okay.
I have put little spaces in there and stuff, so it will naturally pause itself for about 5 or 10 seconds at certain points.
Okay.
So we've got the first two targets. I mean, I'm not going to give all my findings, like I said. I mean, these first two targets, we've got a big turret on the right and a building with a green dome on the top on the left, and you can see them two on Google Earth there now. That's at an elevation of about 250 feet. And then you can see that green line of sight that runs right through the middle of those two structures to a turbine, which is located on Liverpool dockside.
Yeah.
And it'll run through and show you that in a minute. Basically, between them two buildings, you see that turbine spinning. Now, I've scanned the area. There's no other turbines in the area to be found, or at least not on Google Earth 2020 anyway. So I can only assume that that is that turbine.
And how far is it to that turbine? Do you know?
To that turbine, it is. I've got all the distances written down because I'm actually building. I'm building the video. Like I said, I've got this under a multitude of conditions, and I mean, even under the most terrible,
It looks to me like 17.4 miles, I would say.
Right, let me find it. Turbine beyond dome is 17.6 miles.
Right, okay. And do you know what the supposed curve calculator would be?
Yeah, it's down as 107 feet. When you take that into consideration, its actual elevation is down to the top of that box where the propeller is.
Okay.
Is given as absolute on Google Earth 290 feet. So half of that should be gone. But what you're not taking into consideration is that green dome is 16 miles away, and its elevation is 272 feet.
Right.
Absolute. The turbine beyond it, its elevation is 290 feet, but it's 17.6 miles away. It's another 1.6 miles away. So, you'd have to take in consideration the, the size difference,
so we can see the
stuff like that.
We can see the turbine here. It's spinning between the two buildings, exactly like you say.
Right, yeah.
Having viewed a lot of these turbines, you can pretty much say that you can see where the blade ends here, and you can know that the blade would come down. So back. To be fair, that's pretty flat. Because
right, and if we look at the bottom of this, what we're seeing here now, if we just look towards the bottom where you can see the sand, obviously, that is the foreground raising up in front of me because I'm looking at a very low angle across the table.
I get you.
If you look at the bottom of there, you can actually see the houses. They're in Hoylake, I think it is called, just before Liverpool. When I make my video, like I said, I'm going to go into a lot more detail. I mean, I've got a lot more movement on Google Earth and stuff going in there, so we can actually follow the lines of sight fully and stuff like that. So everything will be confirmed. All the heights and distances will be given. All the meteorological conditions will be given, and the tides heights will be given. Everything will be given. I'll be giving as much information as I can.
Do you know what?
Like I say,
do you know what the turbine blade length is as well?
I've got Google Earth on here, so.
No, I mean, if you don't know, if you have not looked it up, it's fine. It's something we can look up in the future. But if you know the elevation or the height,
well, I've got a friend who actually works on the turbine, so can get the full. I mean, those turbines there are bigger than. There's some more further along, and they're like a smaller turbine. What I'll do is I'll contact my friend and I'll get the full specifications as much as he can give me of all the turbines, because he actually works on them and does the repairs on them and stuff like that. And I've actually got a little project going with him. Obviously he's not working at the minute, but next time they go out to the furthest wind farm, they'll actually be on one of them small boats. You know what I call the fishing boat in one of my videos? It is actually one of the turbine boats, but I'm not a sailor, so I just named it as I saw it. But yeah, he actually works on one of them boats, and he is going to go out. I'm going to film him from the beach when he goes to the furthest wind farm. He's going to then telephone me live while I'm recording, and take a picture of his GPS location in the boat live. He's then going to come out of the back of the boat, raise his two arms in the air with his high-vis suit on, and then send me the GPS location of his boat, and then I can do a full depth. There'll be no, you got the wrong boat and all this. It'll be the boat, and it'll be the furthest away it can be. So that's just something else we've got coming up anyway.
Okay.
But back to this.
Yeah. So there's the buildings, there's the turbine, and this behind it, and there's the towers, obviously, that you got marked out. And you've got a lot of work that you've put on here, I have to say. All this elevations, all plotted out on. You've done a lot of work, to be fair. So
yeah, I literally have been down the beach 2 or 3 times a day, every day when I can. Obviously, I didn't go today. We went shopping, but my camera was just, handily in the back of my car. And thank God it was, because I literally could see Liverpool from a quarter of a mile further down the prom from where I actually filmed it. It was just driving on the road, and I could see it off in the distance, the cranes, with my own eyes. I didn't need a camera. I could see the red cranes off in the distance.
Okay, so what we're looking at here. So obviously this is from Google Earth. This is an image here.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so I'll just play the video a little bit further.
So yeah, if you play the video on a little bit further, then we'll come to the next target, which is a cluster of buildings. Right, see that cluster of buildings on the horizon?
Here, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so they're not in Hoylake, they're in the back end of Liverpool. If you play the video along, we'll follow the line of sight and it'll show us exactly the buildings that it could only possibly be. Now, I haven't made a decision yet which buildings they actually are, but there's two clusters of buildings. If you pause it there, you can see the small cluster of buildings where I've got my line of sight running to. And there's another cluster of buildings just on the right-hand side. I've not made my mind up yet which ones they are. I need to go back up this mountain. There's a mountain about 4 or 5 miles away from me where I filmed the other day. I need to actually go back there and do a bird's eye view, if you like, and try and work out which buildings I'm actually seeing along that line of sight. This is what I'm trying to build the map up in reality rather than on Google Earth, and then compare it to Google Earth, because not everything's lining up at the minute, but that's another part of the video. But yeah, so I mean, that's just a possibility. And then buildings there are looking to be roughly 18, 19 miles away. So then we come to these next two towers, and they are in Hoylake as well. They're on the front. Basically, according to Google Earth, if we go back to that image of them two towers, see that little building next to it? Now, my elevation on Google Earth at the minute is about 100 or 257 feet, maybe 157 feet. I can't really see it from there. Don't know if I've recorded it, but...
152 feet.
Right, 152 feet. So we've got the two towers, yeah, and then we've got the orange buildings just beyond them. They haven't got a marker on them, but can you see those?
Yep.
Now, I've zoomed in on Google Earth, and there's 7 windows on them buildings. Now, when I'm on the beach at 16 feet above sea level, I can see 5 or 6 of them on the clearest day.
That's pretty low.
According to Google Earth, we shouldn't see that building because I've got a line of sight block before my eye line meets those buildings, which is, it goes up to over 22 feet high. So if you carry on the video a little bit further on, if you pause it again quickly there, just to the left of that building, I mean, I haven't run a pause on it, just to the left of those two towers is another building. Now, according to Google Earth, that is completely behind them towers from my position. I shouldn't see it, but I am. I'm going to ignore that little bit. I mean, like I say, this isn't the full thing, but I've just picked a few things out. I don't want to give too much away at the minute because, honestly, I've got some footage there that's absolutely devastating to the Globe's case. And I don't want to give it away just all yet. But this video, I've done enough to give you a little bit of something to go over. Right, if you carry on the video now.
Yeah, look at this inferior mirage that's created here.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, obviously, when we say inferior mirage, I don't know whether it's hard to explain. When you look along something very flat, if your eyes are on the very level of it, eventually the bottom, no matter how low it is, and if there's something that's attached to that level, eventually the bottom will disguise it, because it's the angle of your optical angle. It can't handle seeing something that low, that far away. It creates this, it pushes this barrier up in front of it. But let me tell you, if you let this video run forward, you'll actually see that structure there with a slope on it.
That one, yeah.
Yeah. So if you let the video run.
There we go. That's it. Here.
So there it is there. Look how further away it is from the silo in front. You got this big grey silo. And it'll move on to that next. So imagine how far we're seeing and how low we're seeing there. See to the bottom of those red buildings, that slope thing, the silo, the cranes as we move along, the buildings, the small buildings beneath the cranes. Then stop now. See that cube with the dots on?
Here, yeah.
Right, we can see a shadow below it. Can you see all the shadow in below it?
Yep.
Okay, if you let it run along a little bit now. You should, right, there you go. Hold it there. Right, in the middle, just off the middle centre of the screen, can you see that building with the little tower on it?
Here, yeah.
That is that building with the squares on it, and below it, the shadow is that building below it, that part of the building.
Okay.
And these here in the foreground are warehouses, which are directly right on the actual dock itself. So they're not very high. I'm not giving away any heights or anything yet. And see the blue cranes to the left?
I can see the turbine.
Yeah,
That looks like
turbine.
That looks like a clear line of shit. Yeah, yeah.
These white buildings, that's them white buildings.
So what we're looking at here, we're looking at around about 17.5 miles, aren't we? Yeah. So there's the
that's
turbine.
That's a low view from Google Earth, from 17 feet high.
So what are you looking at?
Really close.
About 80 feet should be hidden, something like that. 70 feet.
Yeah, something like that. No, actually, there's a target just before that, and I'm not telling you what it is. It's 108 feet tall, and it should be 101 feet behind curvature, and it's not. It's just beyond these. I've not included it in this video, mate, because I don't want to show it like it. Honestly, I've got some shit on there that's gonna slap your mama. But let me tell you, them blue cranes there, we're just seeing them on the left. Anyway, there's my altimeter there. Part 2 have called this random rill because, like I say, I was randomly shopping, and it was only that I had my camera in there with me. That I think if you just hold that for a second, rewind it 1 second, that it was skipped over it quite quickly. So if you just get it to the labelling comes up, right? If you can see that, that's the end of Rill Promenade. That's like a little turret thing, and there's steps next to it, and then there's a little wall. Well, Mike, I just had my tripod on the lowest setting, and I just sat it on this little wall, and you'll see in a minute as we run along how I confirm that position, and I will confirm it as well with Google Earth properly when, if I decide to go back and film there again, I'll obviously start taking, real. But if you see, that's the corner of that wall that I noted.
Yep.
There's the beach. I've given myself 25 feet here. Now, on Google Earth, it says it's 12 feet above sea level. I personally felt it was higher than that, so I gave it 25 feet. There's the steps. There's the turret. So that's just confirmation of my location that I can give you for now, just swiftly. And then we'll go back to, because that was at the end, obviously. If you rewind that a little bit, you'll see my position on that wall. You'll see those little bricks on the wall just to confirm it. And there's the beaches in Prestatyn where I normally film from. Yes, I've just rushed this video out, but like I say, I've put that bit when I was going to show where I was when I started. But if you can see all the little bits, it's the same view. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It is from Rill, but I'll confirm it all and everything. I'll go back there and film it. Like I said, this was just just to show everyone what I've seen so far. So we've got the Beaches Hotel coming up in Prestatyn. That's my normal viewing position there. You see them steps there. That's where I'd normally be. And then we've got some miraging going on the right hand side. We see the houses, what we've seen in the other video at 16 feet. We see the first turbine. We see the turret. We see the green dome building, the turbine beyond the building, all the houses at the bottom. We come along. We see, if it carries on, that spike is something else, mate. We see those cluster of buildings again. Even better than where, I might even go back here because this was an amazing spot. We've got the 2 towers, the building next to it, the building on the left of it. We've got the cranes. And this is almost the absolute bottom of everything here. I was so shocked when I started filming this. There's that slanted, sloped building again. I was so shocked when I filmed this because it was so much further away. Look at all the bottoms of the buildings. There's the silo. There's the cranes. There's that warehouse building. There's the smaller warehouse buildings and the blue cranes. And then I'm going to leave it there, guys, because I've got so much that I want to give, and I want to make it like an awesome video. And I've honestly, I know that's not very clear footage there because it was really murky. You know yourself, you said it was raining yourself today, didn't you? What you can do,
you can put it through a filter.
Right, okay.
So you could sort of contrast it, so you could make it a little bit darker, especially on the first video. If you go back to this one, it's very bright, but if you put a filter on this and darken it up a little bit, things will just pop out a little bit more.
Well, I can tell you all, guys, like the amount of curvature that should be there. None of those buildings should be visible on Liverpool docks at all at any part of time, because like you say, if the Earth's curving, the beach can't be flat and just the water to be curving. The whole thing needs to curve around as a sphere. So you talk about these.
So I had a quick go on Google Earth because I just saw your positions and I just put them in prior to us going live. So can you just confirm that these are the spots, and we'll sort of like show people where you're actually filming from. So there's the Beaches Hotel there and the turret.
Yeah, so if you zoom into the beaches.
So we've got the beaches over here.
Right, just zoom right onto the actual Beaches Hotel.
Yeah.
Right onto it. Right onto it. Bit more. Zoom in. Can you see the little black row of things there? Go move down a little bit. Like move the hotel upwards, like on the screen. You see that little?
Oh yeah, here, yeah.
That's okay. So that's them rocks that I sit next to. So if you zoom down there, and then once you get so low on there, you'll see that there's a concrete level, and then steps going up. Well, I'm on the second step. I'm just in front of that. So if you zoom in front of that, keep going down.
Yeah.
Down. Now, can you see that concrete splitter that's exactly in line with those bricks?
Here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on that second step just at the bottom of there.
Okay, perfect.
No, not there. No, down. See the steps on the left? You're on the flat bit there.
Yeah.
See the steps on the left? There, where that yellow marker is.
Yeah, the pin.
Just to the right. Forward a little teeny bit beyond that concrete splitter, and onto the second step of these steps here.
Okay, so within 10 feet of that marker. Okay, and then when you talked about the turret, I think that I found it. It was this corner one over here. Is that right? Because it's like a half-shaped turret, isn't it? It's like
that's
half moon shape.
Yeah, that's it there.
So I think that's about 3 miles further away. If
I've wrote it down here.
I'll do it from the turret to.
I've actually got it running on my Google Earth now, I think.
So the Beaches Hotel is 3. Yeah, 3 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 miles further. So that last video, when you're looking over at Liverpool, way over here. Can you tell us where we're going to? Where we're looking at? We're looking at
straight up, and zoom in there.
Crosby.
Yeah, zoom in there, and then they see they're all on the right there.
All this.
This is all the warehouses, the cranes.
Okay, so that's at least 20 miles then. So you're looking at 20 plus miles.
20.9 miles, I think it works out on mine. I mean, I've sat here all day, like pinpointing exactly where I am. And I've put it down as I've marked it out as 25 or 24 feet elevation.
Right, that's quite a distance actually from 20 feet, 24 feet or so. That's quite a substantial distance. There should be a lot of hidden there. You shouldn't see any of these buildings, these warehouses in the foreground.
It is, but now zoom in there, Auntie, and can you lower your position now? So you're just in front of them warehouses, and lower your position almost to eye level. To do it to 100 feet.
Okay.
And look upwards towards the. So you've got the warehouses like as if they would be in the photograph.
Right. Okay. Right. So I'm down at 40 feet here. So let's have a look.
You raise up the to the middle, so the actual lines in the middle. There you go. Can you tell me where the mountains are in that picture? Can you tell me where the 5, not one level of mountains, the 5 levels of mountains that rise beyond that picture there, that are visible every single day, including the bottoms of the buildings? On this footage that I've got when it comes out, it's gonna. Honestly, I don't even know what the globe dudes are going to do with it, because it's got your air pressure on there, it's got your weather, it's got your tides, your temperatures. It's going to have everything on there. So Walter Bisling's going to have a busy all night.
Okay, so what's the problem here for the globe? I mean, what's the issue here? We're flat earthers. We say we see these buildings. Why is that a problem for the globers?
Because for the globe to have the measurements that's given, it's got to work to this model that is built. This model's built around those measurements. All the buildings are 3D. Everything's there. So why don't we see what we see on this model? Why don't we see in reality? Forget refraction, mate. Refraction isn't looming up 5 levels of mountains in the background. Refraction isn't showing us the bottoms of these buildings from 20 odd miles away. You know, what the work on, you know, best case scenario for refraction is that it's hiding this stuff.
See,
it's not showing us the stuff.
This is what
refraction, or whatever you want to call it's present.
Well, this is what we're presented with, yeah? This is what we're presented with. This sphere. This is what we're presented with, right? Now, you can calculate distances on a sphere of a given size. And the problem is that it seems that all observations don't match this sphere. You see around it, you know, when you shouldn't be able to see around it. That's a problem.
You see a square off of it.
So when you're going back, when can we expect the full video?
Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to keep going back. I've got other I'm full of targets around here. You know yourself, you came here, you saw what it was like. There's literally targets everywhere. I'm going to do a few more ship videos. I'm going to do a few more things what I can. I actually, for my life, for my personal self, I want it to cool down the weather, if you like, go a bit cooler, a little bit more crisp, and because I know in the winter I see things that a lot more, you know, a lot further away and a lot more crisp than I do in the summer, because in the summer you've obviously got the moisture of the day, if you like. As soon as the sun comes up, it's starting to, you know, humidify, and once that happens, it creates this barrier that you can't see through. And like, I mean, I've got a video that I'm probably going to throw out tomorrow, and that's just it's just things that I've caught disappearing off into the mirroring, people, animals, and it's well before these buildings ever are. You know, it's on the beach that's not even half the distance away, not even a quarter of a distance away than these targets, and these people are disappearing into this wobbly mirror band, if you like, or the refraction band, if you want to call it that. But that is the only thing that's the saviour of the globe, if you like, and even that doesn't save the globe, because that doesn't make those mountains disappear ever.
Well, there's plenty of black swans going around for sure. I mean, who was it now from the Scottish lad? I can't remember his name now, but Flatser. So he's got one. He's got an exceptional one, actually. I'm hoping to get him on the show at some point to come and present his stuff. Colin Dress has given a super chat. Ranty, keep crushing the competition. Love all the panel members. Real recognises real. Cheers, mate. Thank you for the super chat. $19.99. Much appreciated. Trust me, much appreciated. Right.
I know I roll in a lot of the time, and I know I have my bad attitude and that. And to be fair, I see Globers. If they're pushing something that we all know anyway, we all knew this stuff from being kids. We don't need somebody's opinion. You know, we don't need somebody to come and educate us, because that's just arrogant. You are not educating anyone, mate. You're deluded. Get out of your bedroom, go for a walk, because we can all go on the internet and look up any information about the globe that we require. We don't need anybody's opinion. We don't need that opinion to tell us. You know, somebody the other day said, "Oh, let me educate you on why you see what you see." I don't need you to educate me what I'm seeing, mate. They're my eyes. I own them. I'll educate myself, you know. And that's what it's all about. And like I say, I don't want anything but to put this information out there. I don't want fame. I don't even want subs. I'd rather someone sub to you, mate, and super chat you, because you're on doing this show all the time, and it keep you going, so I can have a little platform, and any bit of information I find out, I can come and get it out there. You know, for me, that's
Sorry for the noise there, guys. We're joined by Ruhif.
Hello.
You wanted to join. You tried calling before. I'm sorry, but I had to not answer that one.
Oh yeah, no particular reason to join. Just hello. Good morning. How are you all?
Doing good, thank you. How's it over there in sunny Australia?
Apparently we're going back to school next week. So, yeah, that's interesting.
What, the Globers are going back to school?
All the kids are meant to go back to school, 28th or something, or 24th, which is a week away. And we've held our kids out of school for the last couple of weeks. We took our kids out of school early for a couple of weeks because I'm fairly high risk. So not too sure what's going to happen as of next week. Like they have been setting online work, but if everyone's at school, then they're not going to set online work. And yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway.
Rudolph, when do the kids go back to school in the UK? Do you know that?
We haven't heard anything about it yet, to be honest. There's all sorts of speculation and that, but to be honest, they're pretty confusing with what they're putting out at the minute. They're saying one thing and saying another. Like, they're saying there's a deadly virus and kids can't go back to school, but all of a sudden, overnight, literally, all the shopping places are all back to normal, pretty much. There's a couple that are keeping the queuing, keeping the idiots queuing outside, but, for the majority of it, it's all sort of fairly going back to normal. So what happened to this big killer virus? Where did it go?
The UK is pretty fucked, though, right? Is the UK still fucked? Oh, just the deaths per population, deaths per capita.
Seen them all dropping like flies around. I haven't seen one person die, mate, and I don't know anyone who's
I haven't seen a person die either.
Well, there you go. Then it's just on the news, isn't it, bud? TV virus.
Well,
I assume you're a freaking what's the kid shooting?
I had to go to the hospital last week with the missus, and we walked past. It must have been at least 100 doctors and nurses, and not one patient through the corridor.
Not one patient in the hospital. And I know that, because my sister-in-law's a district nurse. It's not assumption. I know for a fact because she's told me there's nobody in the hospitals. That's why
my local hospital
videos. So while you're seeing all them people dying on the floor, dropping around like flies, do us a favour, will you? Give her a bell, mate, because she's bored.
Yeah, my local hospital hasn't had a case in 3 weeks. So Australia's doing really well. Like I'm overly cautious, I accept that. But the UK, has there been a massive improvement?
Are you walking around with a bin bag on your head then with one hole in?
A what?
A bin bag.
Bin bag.
Well, you could always get, what decorators use, that plastic tubing. Get a load of that. How tall are you, Ruhif?
5'11".
5'11". So you need about 6'6" worth of plastic tubing and a cable tie. Crunch the top around in a cable tie. Yeah, so it's all locked off and that, and just drape it over yourself, mate. You'll never get the virus like that.
I've been told
alternatively, mate, you could just do what I've done and turn your TV off.
I stopped, looking into it too deeply around about 2.5 weeks ago, and I haven't seen anyone with it around here, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, neither have I. But I mean, there are hotspots here that are, places that you can go to that people send their elderly parents to. Like in Australia, the vast majority of people over 80.
That's terrible. They're not sending their elderly parents to catch the virus, surely.
People send their parents to a nursing home that exists. Hey, are you one of those Sandy Hook truthers, Rudolph?
What do you mean, a Sandy Hook truther? Was you there when Sandy Hook happened?
Oh, so you are. Okay.
Well, I don't subscribe to. I'd rather not talk about that here because Sandy Hook gets you.
You're not really
fucking
supposed to talk about it, but if I'm honest, Rue, if I question any sort of,
it's just because you're not there.
Government use to push laws and stuff like that. I question any sort of scenario where the government use to push laws onto the people. I'll question. Like they've used this hoax virus scenario to push us all into our houses and shut the world down. Where really, what is it?
Do you think that's going to be permanent?
Because, I actually know 2 people who supposedly tested positive for coronavirus. One of them works in the hospital, not my sister-in-law, another friend of mine. And a fella delivers food for elderly homes. And she tested positive, apparently, for coronavirus. She said she's never had an illness like that because she wasn't even ill.
Yeah, like most people are asymptomatic, and that's my concern actually.
Well, if you're asymptomatic and you're not ill and it doesn't kill you, why are we all stuck in our houses?
It would probably kill me.
It can kill old people. Why have you got no spleen? Have you had your spleen removed?
No, I got pretty bad lung damage.
Right. Well, one of my neighbours has had his spleen removed, and if he gets ill, he gets really ill. And he's not even put a mask on during this virus. He's been out and about everywhere. You know.
Yeah.
It's one of them, mate. It's whether you believe it or not. It's, you know, if I'm gonna be convinced that we all should be locked in our houses and not be allowed out, and I'm not being morbid, but I want to see someone dying, at least one person dying.
You want
You know, I'm not being morbid, mate, but I want to at least see justification for me not being able to go out, for my kid not being able to go to school. You know, it's craziness, mate.
Well, yeah, sure.
Okay, so listen, we've had a super chat from Cleary who wants to ask a question to you, Rude Earther. He says, have men walked on the moon? And by the way, Cleary, I want you to add me to. I want you to add me to Skype, mate. Cleary, add me on Skype, and I'll bring you into the discussion. There we go. So you don't think they've walked on the moon, and I'm going to say that Ruhif says that they did walk on the moon.
Because of course, because he's one of the proponents of the narrative, isn't he? So he's going to say that. Yep. But I mean, you know, when you look back at the '60s, they had digital 8 traps was about the best technology that they had. And they didn't have a chance of going to the moon, in my personal opinion. Not a hope. And then tell me that they calculated exactly how much fuel it was going to use, the strength of the vehicle, whether it could withstand the journey, you know, all this stuff, and then for it to work first time off, you know, no mistake. It's to me, that's just like, it's ridiculous.
Okay.
You know, and they've not gone, for the fact they've not gone back there now. You know, we've got multi-billionaires who are talking about space races and getting people to do, traveling to space, like as if it's some sort of holiday thing. You know, if you've got people keen enough to do that now, why didn't he continue on in 1969? You can't say they didn't have the funding, because they've had the same billions and billions amounts of funding they have had since the 60s, 50s, 40s, whenever you want to say it started.
Yeah, they have announced they're going back there, right, in a couple of years.
Yeah, they've been announcing that, though, since 1971.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, they probably have. They've been, like Richard Branson's been announcing people are going to be, you know, holidaying to space, mate.
Oh, he's a businessman. Forgive me for that.
40 years old. And, you know, I actually remember when he said in the next 5 years, 10 years, we'll all be travelling to space, mate. I'm still waiting now. You know, other people have come along after him and said they're going to do it, and I'm still waiting now. And they're still saying it now. And now you've got,
but are you going to go to space?
People are going to Mars and saying that he can design off-road bulletproof vehicles that, you know, a metal ball goes straight through the glass live on stage and makes him look like a divvy. You know, don't you ever ask a question, Ruhif, like that? You know, you got a guy proclaiming that he can build spaceships to go to Mars, and build a car that he can put into space. And then when he presents his new vehicle, which is supposed to be bulletproof, this, that, and the other, new electric off-road vehicle, which actually looks like a 5-year-old's drawn it with a grey crayon. Who's just
that was Elon Musk, wasn't it?
From the 1980s.
I thought you were on Branson. Sorry.
No,
yeah,
really,
Elon, that was hilarious.
Yeah, you know, I mean, don't you ever ask a question, man? These guys are claiming to do these amazing things, mate.
2 years ago, I'd never actually asked the question of myself, is the Earth round or flat? I'd never really asked the question of myself.
What
drives
you to be a proponent of the globe? What drives you to make these videos and ridicule people like the stupid when they question the narrative of the Earth?
Well, hang on.
Like you,
I think the main question that I've just picked up there is from Ruhif is that you've never really questioned it until, well, you maybe never even questioned it 2 years ago, but you first became aware of it, let's say a couple of years ago. But you're about the same age as me, I'm going to guess, or maybe a bit younger.
I'm 41.
Yeah, a tiny bit younger. So you probably grew up in an age where it was all on the telly at all times. You were conditioned to believe in the globe. You were basically brainwashed about the shape of the Earth. Or
the Earth is a globe, and they just tell you what's true.
Yeah, but you were only ever shown one thing, which was a globe. You were never shown the Earth being flat.
You were never shown, possibly.
You was always shown the Earth as being a globe. So in your consciousness, for all you can remember from being programmed from being a very young age, was this sphere shape.
Sure.
So do you think that has an impact on how you're trying to critically look at things now? Or do you
I think it has an impact?
Yeah, do you think that plays a part, or do you
No,
think there's
actually.
actual proof for the globe? I mean, when you look at what Rudolph's putting out here with his observations, and you look at them, and you see him basically down to the shoreline from 20 miles away at an elevation of about 20 feet, does that not, you're just going to say refract, how, at what point are you going to say, when there's these thousands of videos out there all showing the same thing, that, hang on, wait a minute, this 7.6R, we always have to include it and then add a little bit extra on every single time, because we're seeing way too far.
You always have to get above the surface. 25 feet or whatever is not high enough.
But I'm defunking that, mate. I'm seeing that bottom of that thing. I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I don't
whether
care.
You say it's not high enough or not, I'm seeing it. And whether you say it's refraction or not, I'm seeing it. And I'm seeing the mountains beyond it in the background.
You're seeing it. Get above the surface.
Mate, there's no excuse for it in the globe for it to happen. You've got your anatomical model, mate. You've got your Google Earth. Is that not correct?
Google Earth is correct, yes.
Right, so why doesn't it display what I see in reality then?
Because you're not taking into account refraction, because you're too close to the surface.
Right, so
Get above the surface.
I've given you the air pressure. I'm going to give you the temperature. I'm going to give you the tide. And you can work out refraction because you know what?
Yeah, what is
the temperature gradient?
When he says temperature gradient, he means he's going to require you to supply the temperature across the entire stretch. The entire stretch.
No, not necessarily the entire stretch.
Then I need to fly up in the air and take a temperature at 20 different levels, so Rudolph can work out the amount of refraction. Because like any of you lot have ever done that, you idiot.
You're actually asking me
that nonsense, mate.
You're actually asking me exactly what Gleam has asked me about 20 minutes ago. So you guys can chat about that.
So what did Gleam's actually just said something now in the chat. He's basically put the higher you go, the more you will see of it.
Of course you will.
Yeah.
You do on a flat plane. If you get your eyes, listen, mate. If you get your eyes, listen.
I'm listening, but you're not listening to me.
If you go to a bowling alley, right, and close one eye and put your face on the floor and look down a bowling alley, you won't see the bottom of the pins, because your eye, the angle, is disturbed by the floor stretching out in front of you. And that is what you're seeing. It's not nothing.
What is
to do
obstructing the pins?
Is the bowling alley not flat and straight?
What is obstructing the pins?
The floor, the angle.
Okay, so the earth is obstructing you.
I can't handle that angle at such a long distance, mate, when you're so close to the surface. That's all it is. Do you know anything about shooting?
Shooting? Oh, I used to, yeah.
Right, so you should know that then as a shooter, when you're putting rounds down on a target, you move up higher than the target. Whether the target's a mile away or 400 yards away, you always move up to get your angle down on the target, mate. It's nothing to do with the curvature. It's to do with giving you the advance over that target, so you know you can put rounds down in it. If there's a lump between you and that target and you're on its level, if you're both on the same level and there's a 3-foot wall between you, you're going to have trouble, mate, because it's going to be hard for you to shoot over that 3-foot wall from your position, mate. When the target is shrinking off in the distance, it's on your level and there's a 3-foot wall between you and it, you will not hit that target. You need to move up into the hill so you can drop rounds on that target, mate, over that wall. Do you understand it? It's not about whether your target's on your level, mate. There's a 3-foot wall in between you. It's not even as tall as you or the target, but it will obstruct your shot, mate. And if you know anything about shooting, you know full well that is a fact.
All right, so getting back to what you said at the start, getting above the surface. Yes, you will see more. That's why you've got to choose something that is, a longer distance away and is quite tall. So again, my favorite observation is Canigou. The observer height is like 300 meters and the distance is 270 kilometers or something. And there's 2,500 meters of a mountain missing. There's no explanation for that on a flat earth.
There's no 2,500 meters of any mountains missing, mate.
Yes, there is.
I've seen 5 levels of mountains rising up. The lowest level of mountains I see in the thing I'm looking at is 124 feet high. The one beyond that is 400 and something. The one beyond that is 600 and something, and the one beyond that is 1,250 feet, and it's got a mast on top of it that's 40 meters high, mate, or whatever it is, off the top of my head. And I'm filming it all every day under every condition. There's no refraction. The only thing refraction helps you guys with is when it wobbles on the surface low down and it makes the bottom of things disappear. So you can all jump up and down like a bunch of lunatics and go, "Ooh, there's the curve, there's the curve." It's not, mate. It's just a line of mirroring. And I don't care what you all come in here and say. All the facts are on the internet. You can all go off and draw as many little diagrams as you want. You and Rumpus and all that about refraction. It means nothing. Unless you can show us it all, it means zero, mate. It's just a load of jargon on paper, mate. And what we see in reality doesn't match up. So when you all figure that out, mate, I'll have a conversation with you. And when you be honest about it, I'll have a conversation with you, because you've been on my videos before now. When I filmed at them low positions, you've come on with your amazing skills of trigonometry and worked out that my viewing height was 139 feet high. Now, to me, you're either arrogant or lying or stupid. And when you work out that I'm not lying and I'm not arrogant and I'm not stupid, we might get somewhere. But I don't want to continue on the conversation and getting angry with you, mate. So I'm going to go and have a cup of tea. Because honestly,
right. Well, before you go,
before you go, you can go over it and do what you want. You can do whatever you like. Take the measurements, do what you. Right. I'm not interested in any money. I don't want anything off anyone. I don't want any fame. I don't want any fortune. I'm just doing it, mate. 'Cause I'm sick of people telling everyone what they can and can't see and what they can and can't do because they've read it.
Before you go, I have no recollection of that video, by the way. That must have been years ago.
It was years ago. Have 4 years
ago.
Memory. I've got
a good memory.
I've got
to get back.
Memory, mate, honestly.
Revenge is a dish.
To the start of what
Revenge
you said.
is a dish best.
Oh, he knows you.
Get back to the start of what you said. Yes, there is 2,500.
I remember Glean
meters
commenting on one of my videos actually as well.
Straight.
You remember that, Gleamy?
Yeah, straight.
Yes,
Salute to you.
I don't forget shit, my mate.
Serious.
Listen, you're dealing with a different species, mate. I'm a different species Earther, mate. I'll catch you on the way out.
64 gig of memory.
Yeah, 666 a gig of memory, mate.
All right. Anyway, so yes, there are 2,500 meters of a mountain missing. To get back to what he originally said before he went on a rant. So, yeah. Gleam's here. Hello, Gleam.
Hi, sorry, I was just on an inhale. Hello, yes. Hello, salute Ranty, salute Ruhif, salute Rudurfer.
Hey,
you're all the R's. R.
Yeah.
What's going
give
on?
me 1 minute as well.
Yeah, the 3 R's, mate.
Give me a second, back a minute.
Hey, Ruhif. Give
me 1 minute, hold on.
Before you go, listen, it's no personal offence to you, lad. I just don't like it when people assume they're smarter than you.
Yeah, I don't take offence to anything that you say, Rudolph.
We can all get on a playing level and just be honest with each other, and then we'll all get along a lot better.
Yeah, no, there's the assumption from you that we're lying, which is, it makes it pointless. Anyway, I'll be back 1 sec.
So, Gleam, what brings you in this evening, my friend?
A couple of things. One thing was speaking to Ruhif. Ruhif basically asked me whether I analysed his video, and I wanted to find out what one it was, because to be honest, no, I didn't even go on his channel. I think I've been on his channel once before in the past. But either way, the second thing that I'd like to come on, and I've got to present this on Jose's because I left this as a question on Jose's, but I don't know whether you've seen Blue Marble's science video, which took a snippet out of this show.
Really? No, I haven't actually. So, do you want to tell me about that?
Yeah, I don't know whether you... excuse me, sorry. I don't know whether you remember Jose was on here, and I got up a Excel thing, and no disrespect at all to Jose, but he had to get off, and everyone kind of jumped on him, saying, you're running off. And Blue Marble Science basically came to the rescue. He done a hit piece on me using the excerpt of me showing that Excel thing. Do you remember the Excel thing?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
that's it. So he was basically saying that you can't use this, can't use that. Either way, I think he's just making up excuses for... He basically said you can't use perspective in an orthographic view. And in my research, basically, optometrists use it. Even Euclid's theorems involve it, and it's to do with representing perspective errors, not just the geometric of what you actually see. And I showed him loads of papers showing basically PhD holders in optometry using a orthographic view and putting additional perspective in there, not just your normal angular diameter formula, your size distant relationship, they call it. It's a common thing. I mean, if you look it up, it's called the size distance paradox, and it's where human perception, they cannot perceive it in an angular, even though the train tracks look like a triangle, it's still not perfectly geometrically sound, let's say, of where you perceive objects and where you perceive things. But what I'd like to do, if I could share a screen, I'd like to just show you something that everyone basically asks, "Oh, can you model it?" You know, when globe earthers, and again, this is I'd love to hear Ruhif's point of view on this, but if you were to say to a flat earther, Ruhif, right, well, let me ask you, this is better. Ruhif, in your experience in the globe earth and flat earth discussion, what do flat earthers say is the hijacking of the curve, or to produce the curve? Okay.
And I've never understood what they actually meant.
Right, and refraction, I reckon, as well. Perspective and refraction are the two core topics I've come across. I mean, you've got the likes of the plain truth. You've got the likes of Ranti himself. Ranti shows
on the Shoaling.
Yeah. Well, no, I think Ranti exposed that. He was the leader for that, and to right. Put it this way: in my eyes, in science, if there is an effect affecting your analysis, you account for it. You don't neglect it.
So something like inferior mirage, you can calculate the height of it, or you can see the height of it, and it's not enough to account for how much is missing.
Exactly. This is why flat earthers don't. Well, this is why flat earthers don't just say, it's just refraction, or it's just perspective. In my opinion, in the 6 years I've been looking on the scene, it's a combination of the two. There's two schools of thought, and the plain truth will tell you, is this refraction band called the ether band, which is dubbed the ether band, and you will get people like Life is Short, who I will say on some side of things, have you seen Life is Short's Over the Lake make a light disappear bottom up?
I watched Life is Short, freaking 3 hours of gibberish.
Oh, you did watch it?
I did.
I mean, why do you think that's gibberish?
Because the diffraction limit is tiny.
Can you show us it?
You
keep saying it, but none of you can explain.
I think you've misunderstood that whole video, you know.
I mean, do you watch that Sky Free channel, Ruhif?
No.
Now you need to get over there, bro, and go and watch it, mate.
Have you guys ever actually...
exactly what happens within 200 feet of distance.
Have you guys ever done a calculation with the diffraction limit?
No one's obviously done a calculation except for
obviously.
So we're all wrong, mate. Do you know what I mean? Exactly, you know what I mean?
Well, hang on, wait a minute. Flat Earth Data has actually put a formula out. I believe I sent it to you, Ruhif.
What was that? You did, yeah. Is he here?
He's not here, but I'm sure he will be around at some point. Listen, I've got to ask you. I've got to ask you a question because there's a super chat from Toady who asks, "Are you Sam Hain?"
Am I Sam Hain?
Yes.
No.
Can you categorically tell them that that's the case?
I'm not anonymous here. I'm not anonymous.
Okay, because I will say that I've spoken to Sam Hain on the telephone, and he is American. And you're definitely not American, right? Okay, so that's that laid to rest. So, so there has been a calculator put out there, you know.
Now, I've seen Flat Earth Data's formula, and he just conflates the distance to the horizon with the diffraction limit formula, and for no reason. Like, it's ridiculous.
So you're not aware that actual formula is actually used to calculate the distance to the horizon on a globe Earth?
No, I know that's what it is, but he's conflating it with the diffraction limit formula. Just because they've both got the 1.22 in there.
I mean, I do have a citation. I don't really want to go through that, but I do have a citation that I can put in the side chat there. That is from a university, basically saying that 1.22 is a common factor for the aperture of any circular lens.
That's the diffraction limit.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing.
We
So
agree.
it's a factor. It's a factor. Now,
It's a factor in the circular apertures of cameras and eyes. Nothing to do with distance to horizon.
Well, that is the switch. When you are using it to construct a geometric landscape, you then switch from your eye point of view and then refer it or switch it over to the environment is then spherical.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, either way, with that's that formula. My personal one, and was it yourself that we went through the two different formulas? I don't think it was either way, but
Probably not.
no, there's that formula which is I don't know, probably more accurate in as much as it would be more accurate to the including refraction, as well as, even though it's supposed to be purely geometric. But the other one that I was using, and the one that I was talking about with Life is Short, is the distance is your height over the tangent of the angle. Okay, and that would be the angle, the diffraction limit. And
yeah, but they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. They just happen to have the number 1.22, and if you change it to metric units, it's completely different.
That completely does away with the 1.22. All that is if you can imagine, it's a triangle in a orthographic
Just
view.
stop you there. I am terrible at trying to visualize. I actually have to draw. When I do trig, I have to draw shit on paper.
Okay, can I share my screen, please, Renty, if that's okay?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I just need to pull up some paper and hide some work stuff.
Plain Truth says, I'd like to see a measure in inferior mirage. Just in the image, the width of it in the image.
You do realise that the inferior mirages, though, can vary in depth and height.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in your single image, you can clearly identify like the mirror line or the fold line, and you can identify the apparent water level.
Yeah, but you also realise that just above the fold line in the centre, that's where you get a bit of compression as well. Have you noticed that? It's something that I've picked up recently.
I haven't noticed that, and I'm doubting that would happen, actually.
Well, no, it is actually something that I was going to talk about it on. I was actually going to make a video about it, but just look out for it.
This is for Sifwin. This is for Sifwin. Sorry.
Yeah. Just have a little look for that, because it is something that I've just noticed recently. So,
all right, what are we talking about now?
Okay, sorry if you can see my screen or share screen.
Yeah,
whoops.
You are. Go ahead.
Hang on.
Okay, so this is what I didn't get about your statement, where I think you said something. He conflated a load of rubbish, and in my eyes, all he done was trigonometry.
It's this slant error. Yeah, send me that.
Yeah, no, hang on. I will. I'll go through it with you right now, and it's pretty easy. I mean, this is actually a review of the original works done by a scientist called Galinsky back in 1951. And what she done is it was known that humans perceive distance incorrectly. Okay, so this is, by the way, this is purely a psychological thing, because I don't know whether you're aware, but perspective as a science falls under psychology.
I would say no. I would say perspective is mathematical. You might be equivocating.
Because you probably have to. But either way, if I go through what she said, now this is her addition. Okay, so this is this slant error. You were perfect to point that out, because that is the odd thing. And this is the thing that all the globe earthers keep telling me. You cannot represent a perspective distortion or an error or something like that in an orthographic view. And it's a load of tosh, because these guys are PhD in optometry. So I think they understand what they're talking about. Plus, later on in the 80s, the US Army actually had to adapt their stadiometric ranging devices for this exact same reason. But
their actual hardware?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I can show you it. I'll drop you the link. I've got.
Yeah, send me the link.
I've got hundreds of links on this, but either way, if we can just forget this for now.
That's the important part, because that's
no. But this is what Life is Short has been doing. Now, what this is known as, and you can see this I think it says here in equation. So sorry. It actually starts here. So theoretical analysis based on the geometry of ground surface representation. Okay, so we begin with the following theoretical analysis based on the geometrical relationship between the perceived distance on the ground and the representation of the ground surface itself. Oh, sorry, I added itself. For an object located on the horizontal ground surface, figure 1a, the visual system can derive its egocentric distance on the surface, which is d, using the trigonometric relationship distance equals the height over the tangent of that angle. Okay, now it does say here in equation 2, and the angle denote that it should be pointing out here. Here's the caveat. It should be pointing out here that we're not proposing that the visual system directly follows the operational procedures specified by the mathematical equation above to derive distance. Rather, we believe that this is the visual system. Basically, what they're saying is that this is the framework that we'll start with, basically the control variable, which is the angular size distance relationship, which is the angular diameter formula. Okay.
But the experiment is comparing people's perception to reality, right? This is a psychological paper, like you said, right?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
And I would not be presenting this to you if I did not have a backup for cameras. Okay, so
okay. Send them both, because I got to go in a sec.
Sure, I'm not just chatting crap for chatting crap state. This actual, just to quickly explain, seriously, what is chatting crap about that? You just literally said life is short is convoluting a load of nonsense, and I just showed you the exact formula life is short uses.
Oh no, that's Formula A is completely fine.
Yeah, and it's in an optometry. So you've just said he's convoluted a load of nonsense, but yet he has actually convoluted.
The diffraction limit formula.
That isn't the diffraction limit. That isn't the diffraction limit.
Travis uses the diffraction limit formula to explain why things get hidden from the bottom, and it's just not big enough. Well, it's theoretically wrong anyway. To say that they hide things,
I think you're concentrating on the wrong thing, and you still haven't got it, because you're concentrating on this ball. Yeah, you're saying this ball, I can still see it because it's massive. It's a ship. It's a mountain. Yeah, you're not concentrating on this thing called the floor.
Okay, I know what a floor is.
No, you're not concentrating on it. That's what I'm saying. That is the thing that this whole paper concentrates on.
All right, send it to me.
I will literally send you this. I'll send you the army one, and I'll also send you one just to end on this, just so you're aware, because you just literally said, "Are you chatting nonsense?" And seriously,
Travis chats nonsense about the diffraction limit and applying it to long distance observations.
Hey, Ruhif, I've got a video on my channel now of a boat that's no tall, and I mean it's no tall. I'm gonna go down to my mate, because my mate works on one of them. I'm going to get him to stand there for tape measure for you, and it's no higher than 15 feet off the surface of the water, yeah? And I've got one of them boats 12.65 miles out, should be 40 feet behind the curve, and you can see all the water leading up to it. Can you explain that with your refraction?
Oh, I probably could. Anyway, I'll go.
Doubt it.
Yeah, stick the links in the chat. Cheers, Ranty. See you all.
You go.
You know, I know what.
Ta-da!
It's exactly what.
Oh man.
Either way, I'm going to put these in this chat. No, I can actually put.
Someone say,
no, the thing is,
I thought I announced that a minute ago.
You're back.
Yes, I'm going. I got to get kids ready for homeschool, so yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But yes.
Hey, Rita,
all right.
Take it easy, lad.
See you, mate. See ya. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
See you later. Beaver Fly, thank you for the super chat, $5, much appreciated. We were joined by Right the Hand as well. I mean, is Right the Hand? Are you still there, my friend?
I know, salute. I thought he was going to exactly that, take over on that point. I was just going to finish off on this to say that he doesn't know what he's on about. But either way, yeah, salute, Right the Hand. You cool?
Hey, yeah, no, I was like, yo, when is he going to answer Gleam? And then he was just like, yeah, I'm gonna go.
the thing is, they can't answer when they're confronted with actual. You can't deny an observation, mate. I want to know why them 5 layers of mountains go up into the back. There's no refraction explaining that. You see cars driving along the roads in the background, mate. Is that being projected up? Is it cars driving on the little roads on the mountain? We'll see anyway, mate. Cause I want to bring my video out when I've done maximum amount of observations. Like it's going to be about 3 hours long. So
okay, so we got B-Ball for Life in the chat. So he's always asking this question, guys. Maybe you can answer this because I don't think I've ever got the opportunity to actually ask you this. So he's always putting this question out: if an object is 3,000 miles above the surface of the Earth and 18,624 miles away, what angle will it be above the horizon? I mean, do we actually have to calculate that, or is it not something that he can put into a calculator and work out for himself?
Well, either way, there is bits to it. And sorry,
do you know why they're using that? They're using it, mate, because they're going to start talking about Polaris, mate, and the height of Polaris and stuff like that. And basically, mate, what they're using again stars, lights in the sky that come in and out of our field of view, if you like. We don't know what they are, mate. They could just be like of a holographic nature. We don't know what exactly they are. We have to trust the word that people say they're burning balls of gases, but I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe the millions and trillions and billions of light years away, mate. I'm not having it. So,
do you think it's a bit ironic that they're using this 3,000 miles above the surface when essentially I don't think anyone on the panel has ever said anything about 3,000 miles above the surface?
No, exactly. It's like when I spoke to the first person I ever, not the first person I ever spoke to, but one of my close mates who didn't actually realise I was a flat earther. When I told him I was a flat earther, mate, I mean, in my eyes, a flat earther is not someone who's going around saying, hey, the Earth's in a dome and it's in this and it. It's just, to me, it's just questioning what we're told about the place that we live, mate, and it doesn't add up in my eyes. But yeah, when I first told him, he was like, "Oh yeah, so you don't believe Australia exists then?" I was like, "What the fuck? Where's that come from?" Like, and he goes, "Yeah, seen it in some article, mate. Flat Earthers don't believe Australia exists." And I was like, "Fucking mate, this is ridiculous." You know what I mean? It's the conversation just immediately turns to ridiculous, and where's the water's falling off and all that, and it's just like.
Well, I think they're trying to conflate us with the Flat Earth Society here. I mean, B-Ball for Life needs to understand that the Flat Earth Society is basically, it's a controlled opposition to genuine flat earthers. So, if you're going to go with this 3,000 miles above the surface, then, go and ask anybody in the chat right now if they... Press 1 if you think the sun is 3,000 miles above the surface, and you're a flat earther, by the way. You have to be a flat earther to answer this. So press 1 if you think it's 3,000 miles above the surface, or press 2 if you just don't know. Right? So I'll leave that for the audience to decide anyway, because we don't want to get sort of like bogged down with this nonsense, to be honest.
I know where he's got it from, though. I know where he's got it from. He's got it from my Polaris maths. He done a hit piece on me, and my Polaris maths resolved Polaris at 3,958 miles. Now, I don't know why they keep on saying 3,000. I mean, I've had so many figures saying it can't be at 3,000 miles, it can't be at 5,000 kilometers, it can't be at...
Gleam, how far away is the sun when it supposedly sets? How far away from us, like physical distance? Is it about 4,000 miles?
No, it's between 6,225 and up to 7,500 if you class, let's say, the tip of a southern hemisphere to the outer rim, let's say.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. When we're calculating these things, I think we're just calculating something at the end of our visual limit. And something that we're seeing reflected into our visual limit, into the outer extremes of it.
That's what
I don't think it can be calculated and quantified like that.
Well, that's what.
A calculation will never quantify how it's happening. You'll never get the mechanism through a calculation, through math. Math will just describe mathematically, but if you're trying to explain why your vision is obscured and why you don't see something, math can't do that. Math can't explain why. And this is what bowlers try and do. They try and explain why with math. You can't explain why with numbers. You just display them.
I think I can show something which shows what they're not getting. Put it that way. And you know where I was just saying there, Ruhif, you're not concentrating on the floor. You're concentrating on the object when you're talking diffraction limits. You're not talking on the limit of your floor. And literally, if I can just share the screen again, sorry. What Beeble was basically on about there is that all measurements of all the stars and the sun and whatnot are taken from this horizon line upwards. Yeah, so that's your angle. So it'll be 45 degrees about up here or something, and then your zenith will be double this, because each individual square I've done here is 1 degree. So what they're forgetting, what they seem to forget, is when they take a photograph here, and sometimes it'll be up here, that'll be their field of view, sometimes it'll be right down here. But what they're actually forgetting is that this is blocking the majority of your field of view. And this is created, obviously, by perspective, this train track type thing. And if you see here, this is the thing. In your field of view, you've got your horizon line there, and then it goes down to 30 degrees. Now, if you take it down to about 45 degrees, that would come down to about here. Okay, and if you minus that off of what B-Ball's trying to calculate, because no matter what you do, if you use a geometric figure, you will always calculate it as Polaris will never set. It will always end up here or something, yeah, because you're missing this bit. Now, if you account for this bit, the actual lower part of the field of view being blocked by your floor limit, then you reconcile that and the maths clicks in. And that's one of the things. I mean, the core thing I really wanted to show on this is I've actually modeled in Unity exactly what they asked to be modeled. And if you can see here, what this is that green block there. I don't know whether everyone can see that, if I can zoom in. This green block here is 100 units, which I've classed as meters. So this is a building, 100 meters. Now, what they're telling me is if I'm above this 100 meters, and Miles Davis does this at 200 meters and whatnot on Trapane Law photographs, but if you're above this line, this height of this front object can never block more than its own height in the back. Now, what I've actually made this, so this is 100, this back one is 200, and the camera height is actually at 110. So I don't know if you can see there, 110 is the dimensions of the camera. The green cube, 100.
Yeah.
Red cube, 200.
So you're above the first object, but below the second one. And you're saying that now the second one will drop below the first one.
No, now this is the trick which I spoke to Dean about on when Dean first come on the scene with his modelling skills. He was on Sean G's a lot, and literally I was saying to him, right, come on then, let's model, let's be serious about this. And I actually, fair dues to him, he actually tried. We actually modelled out the eclipse using Earth's magnetic field, and he didn't quite get the mushroom effect I wanted, but either way. Later on, I say, right, Dean, model out this, what's known as the limit of the floor distance that I'm on about, using the equation that I was just talking about, without any of the perspective distortion. So it's just purely geometric. There will reach a point where all of your floor will squash up so much that it will become 1 pixel, and that will become your false horizon line. Basically.
Well, yeah, that makes absolute sense. You know, everything will fit into 1 pixel at one point. Eventually, if it's that far away, you could have the whole of Blackpool Tower in 1 pixel.
Yeah, exactly that. The whole height of it, and then you wouldn't resolve it, or you would resolve it because of the lights, and it would be 1 pixel lit up, and you wouldn't be able to get any detail off of it. But the whole fact of exactly what Ruhif is saying there is that how can we reconcile, how can perspective alone, and bear in mind this has no refraction involved in it at all, how can perspective alone reconcile something smaller blocking more than its own size when you're above the line of sight? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Gleam, can I just ask you, mate, when you referencing this refraction, you're referencing now that red box in the distance there.
Is this with refraction?
According to...
No
This is just
refraction.
No,
This is
with
just
100.
perspective.
I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But what I'm saying is, when they are referencing refraction, as in the globe side, what they are saying is basically that red box now would appear higher than the green box because of refraction.
Exactly.
Right. But I want to know what they're using as a physical example of that. Because
Well, no. Hang on, wait a
on.
minute. No. They're saying that would never, on a flat plane, that red box would never be below the green box. It would always be higher.
That's it.
That's what they're saying.
That's how it is. That is how it is on a flat plane. That's how it is in reality. But what I'm saying is they claim this looming stuff, don't they?
In reality, it would. What Gleam's showing you here is in reality, it would actually drop below the object in the foreground. Even though it's bigger.
If it was further away, obviously.
Yeah, and even if you were higher than the green object, so is 110 meter elevation at the moment. The camera is set, and the green box is at 100 meters, so he's actually looking down at that. And then further in the distance, he's got a 200 meter high block, but that is obscured.
I'm not doubting that. I know that
due to perspective.
That is what happens in real life. But what I'm saying is what they claim this refraction to be. Is that red box appearing up in front of where it should be? That's right, isn't it? That's basically what they're saying. This looming is the target's up in front of where it should be, isn't it?
Yeah. Now this
right,
is
so when I say
this is what they think it do.
Yeah. So
but the land underneath it would come up with it.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is, what are they using as a physical example of that? Are they using a pencil through the glass experiment, or are they using the sugar water laser through a fish tank experiment? Because if they're referencing actually what happens is when you look down a road, it doesn't even have to be a hot day, mate. It can happen on a cold day. You look down a road and you see that mirroring on the road. What do you see below the car, mate, when it's driving down it?
Yeah, that's it.
It's a reflection, mate. It's not refraction. It doesn't mean the car above it isn't there. It just means it's being reflected on the surface below it. And as it moves along that surface further down, the surface, in your view, raises up because you're so low to the surface, at great distance. And so that effect only raises up to your eye. And that's what we end up with when we look at the horizon. And that is what they're claiming. It's not refraction, not pushing anything up. Refraction, or whatever they want to call it, mirroring or whatever, is the only thing that saves the globe when you're doing an observation. And that's the only thing they rely on.
That's it. I mean, on this, there is a caveat to this, which is exactly what I explained to Dean. I mean, forgetting refraction, me personally, if you're looking for the refraction team, let's say, I know that Heath Carmoody and Travis, the Plain Truth, just done a stream recently, 3-hour stream, going through some of Travis's thoughts as well as Heath's modelling, and they're doing a decent, or Heath is definitely doing a decent job on his model. I mean, I couldn't even begin to start to show you anything in depth as what he's got in terms of refraction. But I always said to Dean, what it is there's this thing called 3D plane clipping, where you clip the plane, and that is as far as you can actually see of Earth, of the Earth that you're standing on. And obviously, with height, you get to see more. It reveals more because your angle of view widens, and then you can resolve more of the floor. Okay, so with this is the trick. With Unity, or with any 3D software program, the y-axis there is actually 50% of the total height. Okay, so if I now come onto the green box, I'll show you what. So the y-axis is 100 height, so it's 100 meters in height, but the actual position of where it should be on the plane is half that amount. So if I just put it at 100, you'll see that that's floating in the air, so it shouldn't be at 100. And if I put it at 0, you'll see it's going into the floor, into this plane that I've drawn, and I'll show you the aerial view in a second. But the correct position is 50. It's half its height. That would be its middle point. That's the y-axis. Okay, now on the red one, however, how I've had to do this is bring this down to 78. Now, if you can see here, I can't zoom in anymore because that's the camera limit. But if you see here, there's a little white line just there, and it appears as if it's hovering above the actual surface or the horizon, let's say. So if I bring that now to 76, I think it was, maybe 75. Yeah, 75 there. That gets rid of that white line. So then it appears just on your horizon, but it is actually double the distance back to this plane limit. Yeah, and now I'll show you that. So looking from overhead, this is the camera. If I go right in, that's the camera right there. I put it as a big block. That is the 110 meters tall. And then the green cube is right in the middle, slap bang in the middle of the plane. Then that's your horizon limit. And then the red cube is here. So that's a third of the distance, the total distance of where the red cube is. But,
so, have you thought about modelling Miles Davis's observations out?
now, I've already calculated them out in angular, just using angular size, and they all fitted the standard basic angular size without having to go down this far. But I've always said to, and this is the main reason why I come in here, is that Ruhiv says, I've got a theodolite thing, and to be honest, I didn't actually watch it, and I'd like him to link it if he's still listening. But
So let me get this right. So you're saying that angular size debunks Miles Davis's entire body of work?
well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, in as much as his original first initial photos, of Trypain law and stuff. Let me see if I can bring up the whole history.
Graham,
Yeah.
Graham, do you mind if I interject? Okay, you know the 1.22 I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
I brought up the 122 for a while. Now, what I find quite interesting is if I take a tangent and I divide let's say for a height of 5.77 feet, whatever, 6 feet. I use 5.77 because that's actually where my eyes sit. If I was at 6 feet, it would actually sit at 5.77 feet.
Exactly that skull. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so if I use that, and I end up with that degree angle of 0.0213, right?
Yep.
If I times it by 57.30, now it doesn't mean anything because I'm not actually taking it. It's already into degrees. So by timing it by 57.30, it's to take radians and turn it into degrees. But here's the thing: when I take the 57.30 and I times it by the 0.0213, I get 1.22.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the factor comes back into it. Yep.
So it has nothing to do with the Earth shape. Has nothing to do with 1.22 as far as the miles goes. And then when we go into the diffraction limited systems, correct me if I'm wrong, the difference, what a diffraction limited system means is it means either the sensor is too good for the lens or the lens is too good for the sensor. And you've got a constant out of that, the 1.22 constant. That's in all limited diffraction systems that have a lens and a circular aperture.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
So when I was using the 1.22, I derived the 1.22 from the angle of using tangent 5.77 divided by 15,520 feet or whatever the math is. It gives you an angle of 0.0213, right?
Yep.
So there should be an easy calculable way, because it's really just calculating the circular distance to things. This is the way I find the 1.22. It's the circular distance to things. It has nothing to do with physical curve, but the circular distance to stuff, because we are calculating a radius distance, and we're using a circumference to calculate the radius. Or sorry, we're using the radius to calculate the circumference, right? So we're using. Anyway, I just find that in my formula. You
get it. You get it spot on. You do get it spot on, and they're saying, well, you can't just do that because where's your wavelength gone?
Well, here's the thing. Hold on.
That's what they don't like.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. The 1.22 comes from the constant wavelength of visible light, which is 450 to 550 nanometers.
Exactly.
That's where the 122 comes from. Is actually the wavelength of visible light. If we used a 300 nanometers, we'd end up with a different degree of resolution, right? So, or an angle of resolution, if you will. So this is when you talk about a model. So this is why I wanted to interject. Is I already done a model. Now granted, it's a very poor example because I'm kind of baiting here with my model. In other words, I show you loosely what I've done by taking a panoramic. I don't know if you've seen it, but I scaled down Earth. I took Earth's dimensions over 110 miles, and I scaled it down over a 6-foot radius. And what I did is I've scaled it to 1/100,000 scale. Okay. And what I wanted to do is I'm trying to get people on. Like I can't get anybody to commit on the math, and I can't get anybody to commit on the model except for one guy. Rory did it. And this is the example in my panoramic pictures I've done is using visible wavelength of light. Now, if I'm at a higher elevation and I'm calculating the distance to the horizon using the normal wavelength of light, I'm going to come up with a different calculation if I used a different wavelength of light filter. You're going to see farther. Yep. Using a different filter. So this is So this is another thing that I'm trying to bait them into this stuff, and it's very hard. I can't get Rufus to admit to angles and height elevation. I can't get him to admit to a different wavelength of information. They're just seeming to be like, no, it's geometric. It's a physical thing. I'm ignoring optics. I'm ignoring the rising of the ground into the center focal point position. I'm going to ignore all of that, and then I'm going to basically what it is. And I've said this before. We've always said this. It's making the horse fit the saddle. Yeah. In other words, they're saying the Earth is a ball. It is a ball, and here I'm going to show you the measurements for it. Instead of looking at what everything is and understanding what, like you said earlier, in the scientific process, you add in all elements. Mm-hmm. That's it. You add in all elements, and they don't. Like for instance, every geometry calculator that shows the observer standing on the ball shows the rising of the floor to the horizon point as a geometrical function. That's the literal orthographic hijacking of perspectives when they're showing that little arch up into the horizon.
So
right?
That's it. So, I mean, Vortex Poppy does a brilliant video on it. It went circulated around a couple of months back, and it was basically saying exactly that. If you imagine looking out of a half sphere, you personally yourself can paint a black line horizontally, and in your field of view it will look curved to someone looking right on your field of view, but to you it will look like a straight line. So it's spherical maths used in place of the spherical eye, and that's what I was saying. It's a switch, or it can be classed as a switch, and that's what I want to get to the bottom of. Who on the globe side is willing to do your globe Earth measurements plus perspective and refraction accounts? Because I'm waiting for that day and just keep on thinking, will the globe Earth actually come out double the size? Because it's 2 accounts, if you understand
that. Double the size as far as the radius goes, you mean? What do you mean?
No, as in they'll be accounting for it twice. If you say from a flat earther's point of view, perspective, the mathematics of perspective of how your eye works, they've translated that into a model of how the geometric Earth is. Yeah. Whereas on a globe Earth point of view is, from my point of view, don't ever bother accounting for perspective. Count for a little bit of refraction when you can't explain it geometrically, and then just use pure geometric globe Earth. So one is avoiding using the maths that the other one says is the core. So if you add them both, if you say, yeah, it's a globe Earth, and then add refraction and account for refraction, will it then throw the numbers completely off? And that's what I want to look into.
Well, they already have. Okay, so they are the square root of the observer's height times 1.22. They already have one for refraction. They have a formula there. I found it. They use the square root of the observer's height times 1.37, and that's how they account for refraction in that calculation. So there's a constant formula that came out of it, and they were using a refractive coefficient, refractive index coefficient. I think that's what it's called, refractive coefficient anyway, which is they're assuming based on R. But when they add it into that formula, it's square root of the observer's height times 1.37. That's the formula that they use. So, but listen, logically speaking, if we are standing on the shore and we are measuring observable dip, observable curvature, correct me if I'm wrong, but if we're on the ground and we can measure physical curvature there, the higher we go, the curvature measurement should be exponential, correct?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So logically speaking, even Ruhif even if he's taking an observer at 150 feet and he's measuring curve and dip and blockage, then the higher we go at 5,000 feet, there should be more exponential dip. So I find it how the suspension of disbelief is always like just repeated in the process of this. If you're measuring physical dip on the ground, it will be exponential when you go higher. It's only logical, right? So what is the argument for that anyway? When you go higher, you see less curve. What is the argument for that?
See, I don't understand why they don't understand. You know, they use the Al-Burleaf, Burkaleaf,
Al-Biruni, yeah.
No, Al-Burkaleaf, you know, that tallest hotel.
Okay.
Oh, you can get in an elevator and watch the sunset twice.
Yes, I've heard that.
How would that bloody not work on a flat Earth? It'd be the same thing. But that I get their way of thinking that the sun can't hide behind something. And on my model there, I actually had the moon in the background, and it done exactly the same thing. I could hide it perfectly fine just by using that floor plane clipping. And literally, you can hide it as it sets, as normal. Same angular size at the real distances. Let me put that up, sorry, because I actually done it to 4,000 miles. And,
well, here's the thing with the 4,000 miles is the Aristosthenes experiment is if once again, if you take tangent 5, okay, no, sorry, was it tangent? Yeah, so tangent 7.2 degrees, and you times it as it times or divide you by the 550 miles, you'll get a 4,000 mile distance to the sun using Aristosthenes basic trigonometry, 7.2 degree angle. So it's interesting how back then they knew the distance to the sun was 4,000 miles away based on their own trigonometry.
Yeah, I mean the core thing. I don't know whether you understand what figure you just said there, but the 137. Do you understand the significance of that number? And I'm not going to go Russian vids on you now. This is well known.
No. So no. Here's the thing: is I was all excited to come up with a flat Earth formula, and then I stumbled across. I knew life is short was already there, but I never watched his videos because I was already on my own path with it, and I already thought, I already know what he's doing, kind of thing. And it's funny because I went and watched him do the calculation of 1.22 times 666 nanometers divided by I think divided by 2.16 millimeters gave you an answer of angle 0.0216. But it's funny. The numerology that came in with the 666 giving you the angle of the degree of I that you actually can see. And it's the same as the Earth curvature calculator. If you type in 6 feet, 6 miles away, it hides 6. So 6 feet tall, 6 miles away, hides 6 feet.
Yep.
In every curve of the calculator. So the 666 is everywhere, even down to the 1 mile away drop is 0.0666 feet. Right, so it's everywhere. So I'm not surprised anymore to see this 666 show up. But please tell me why the 137 is significant.
137 is probably the most significant number in the whole of physics, and basically it's called the fine structure constant. Put it this way, you must have heard that Michio Kaku clip where it says, and physicists predicted it so wrong, it was not 10 to the power of 120 wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard that, yeah.
That number is 120 zeros, and right at the end is 137. Okay. If it was 136 or 138, human life wouldn't exist. Put it that way. But not only that, it is actually the fine structure constant as a core link to everything, as in the speed of light, causality, speed of gravity, all of that, speed of magnetism, speed of whatever.
Well, I am starting to realize that. Obviously they worked off of each other's back. Once there was a constant like Planck's constant or whatever constant was developed, it was like they got on board and used that constant. It was like no other research involved. Let's just use that constant and try to find another constant that goes with it to help, like the electromagnetic theory and all that stuff. It's just insane how there's what am I trying to say? I'm basically trying to say is that it's almost like it's so congealed that it's not scientific anymore. It's kind of like for instance, how they calculated the speed of light using the speed of a wheel, right? And then basing the speed of light. Like, I just don't see how you go in with the presupposition and you're calling that science. I'm going to spin the wheel at this velocity, at this rate, at this size, so that it passes the beam of light at this size, and therefore I'm going to get this calculations. Like I said, it's building the horse to fit the saddle.
Yeah, definitely. On that side, I will say that what's led everyone to find out that all the constants, put it this way, from Paul Dirac's point of view, were never constant. They are ever evolving, let's say, ever growing, and it's stupid to think that a constant has always been a constant. But that number, that actual number, just runs through the whole of physics. And Feynman, I think, does a real lovely talk on it, and he basically goes, this number baffles everyone, and it's not that the number itself or anything about the number resolving to it baffles someone. It's more that it just shows up in everything. I think that more relates to light, on why that number comes to that. So that, but right. the speed of light nowadays is I in my eyes, there's a guy called Lewis Essen. If everyone wants to look him up, Lewis Essen was actually top fellow in the Royal Society in London, and he was against Einstein and all of this space time. And he was actually the first person to measure the speed of light accurately and invent the atomic clock. Now, if you look into clock and timekeeping, he done all the time standards all across the world. But he basically said Einstein was wrong. This space-time business is nonsense. And he actually got threatened with his job and got told to shut up in writing papers against Einstein, and he did. But where the atomic clock comes into play, and I do actually back this science, because it's to do with vibrating frequencies of crystals. And
yeah, and I believe that. I believe there's some science in there for sure. Yeah. There's been tons of studies on crystals and putting sound through them, all kinds of stuff, and there's these interesting results. So yeah,
it's the same thing though. It leads back to that exact same number, 137. It's actually you do the square root of it or something like that. Feynman explains it so much better. I'm not educated in this. This is just stuff that I've seen on the internet, but that I know that there's been many sort of like PBS and stuff like that who have done specific series on that number, saying this is the most special number in physics.
So what do you think the major like lack of honest discipline came in with these physicists? Because you either, like when I interviewed a couple of teachers, they had no idea how far the horizon was from their eyesight. They had no clue. And this is people that are educated in the system, and they were like, what does that matter? It's like literally not a thought process of how far away that horizon line is. So are these physicists and these engineers and stuff not looking at how far away that is, and they're just saying that's Earth curve, so I'm going to calculate the math around it?
It is exactly that. It's a construct already built in their pre-programming, and all of our pre-programming, we were all taught it, and we were all in full belief. And again, in the same way, I bet everyone, when they come to the topic, was like, "Oh, what's this about? This is a bit mad, isn't it?" And I don't believe this straight away, which is your natural gut instinct, isn't it? Oh, that's a bit mad. That's a bit too much. But once you start looking into it, it opened my eyes to the validity of science, put it that way.
Well, I couldn't believe it when I came across several online videos claiming that if you wanted evidence of curvatures, take a pair of binoculars and you'll see a boat go down over the physical curvature of Earth. And this is for an average of 3 to 4 miles away. And I was just thinking, how? Like I never saw this before. I never saw these videos teaching the curvature. This is before I was, obviously learning about flat Earth. But that was definitely one of the tells for me, because I was like, wait a second. I'd flown planes prior. I went to pilot school when I was in my 20s, so I had a little bit of ground schooling and some aviation experience. So when I was looking at the math, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. 4 miles and things are being hid because of curvature? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then when I kept finding all these tutorials about it, I was like, holy shit, they're not talking about angular size. They're not talking about refraction, hiding the bottom of the boats. They're not talking about any of that stuff. They're just claiming it's physical curvature. They're not even saying, hey, by the way, when you zoom in with a lens, you're going to have an optical compression here. It's going to cut off some of the angle. And, you're going to have some optical distortion here. It's not, it's not full reality. Like, for instance, anybody can take a long lens camera, take a broom handle, put it a mile away from you and zoom in on that broom handle from a long lens. That broom handle is going to look warped and short. So it's going to, you're going to have these crazy optical issues. And that it wasn't discussed. And I was like, why aren't they talking about angular size? Why aren't they talking about refraction? And why aren't they talking? None of it. So I was like, I had to look more. And that's when I, everybody at the time was like, well, where's your flat earth formula? There's a globe formula. There's no flat earth formula. So it's right then and there. Once I realized it has to do with angular size, the limitation of light bouncing off of objects coming back. And then I discovered the Rayleigh criterion, and that was all it was. I just wanted to figure out this Rayleigh criterion stuff, but I couldn't believe it. How are they getting?
Even funnier that I had prepared for Ruhif, but it's exactly backing you up on what you just said there. That if I just share my screen again, everyone's gonna know this meme straight. So you got the two blue marbles, okay, and you got the different size continents. One is taking up half of the globe. The other one's taking up a quarter of it. Look, I think this might be it. Yeah, look, if you look at it from two different positions.
Do you want to reshare your screen there, please?
Oh,
I had to drop and come back because I was talking and none of you guys could hear me. So.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Sorry. Did you need to do anything before?
Yeah, it was just a mic check basically because we're joined by Try Thinking and Rude Earth is back. So just check your mics, make sure they're working.
Yo, mic check.
Okay, Try Thinking. Hello. Okay, right. So carry on.
Try talking.
Maybe he was.
You're talking to me, sorry. I've just been made to brew.
Right, no worries, right. Okay, so everything's working, right. Okay, so carry on, Gleam.
Yeah, so obviously this is their argument. And in all honesty, me as a person, as a Mac Earther, let's say, I fully believe this. Okay, I fully believe the Globe Earthers' defense in this argument, where one satellite is further away, so therefore there will be a different field of view to that sphere, because there's what's known as spherical distortion with distance. The closer you get to a sphere, the actual circle, a view that you see is a lot. If you measured the width across there, that will not equate to the width across there. You're only actually seeing a circle like this. Okay? Now, this exact thing should be accounted for on every single photograph where you have zoomed in. Because this exact effect would happen across land to mountains. Yeah, if you're squashing in, if you're doing a telephoto lens and you're zooming right in, you're going to change the background. And I've presented this many a time. There's a thing called Vsauce. Everyone heard of Vsauce. He does one called the Moon Terminator Illusion, and it's called the dolly zoom effect.
I've seen him. He's the guy with the hair on the wrong side of his head, isn't he?
Yeah, that's it, exactly that. He tries to do a big old debunk of flat Earth, but just gets it all backwards. But either way,
he actually didn't debunk flat Earth very well at all. He was kind of on the fence, it sounded like to me.
Yeah, I think that's his quirk, wasn't it? That was his call sign. Or is it?
That's because his beard's Australian, mate. Down under his hair. Should be on top of his head, mate. Try thinking he there.
The only issues I have with those photographs, Gleam, is when you claim they're taken with satellites. My research says about.
No, they're not. No, I sorry, I don't believe. I mean, put it this way. What I believe, okay, that those are definitely not photographs, and I know this 100% because they are data points. You go in there and they are, and they'll try and blag you and say, yeah, it's just the same as a normal CCD camera, but it isn't. This is constructed because you can strip the layers out, so you can
here's the thing.
take the clouds off.
Well, here's the thing with cameras, you have a limitation. You're going to have a limitation to the like digital wavelength of light at certain distances, right? So they're claiming that these satellites go up 20,000 miles or 20,000 Ks in the sky, right? Something like that, 20,000 Ks or 20,000 miles. This is what these satellites go to.
Yeah, up to 60,000, I think, maybe.
Yeah, so they have 8-bit sensors on them, and they have, and then they say that you, like some of the top of the line camera, or some of the top of the line. This is cracks me up too. Is that they'll have 16 sensors. 2 of them they say are digital cameras, and the rest are all like infrared and right? Different wavelength sensors. It's an 8-bit resolution, and you're going to have a still an angle of view based on the size of your fucking aperture, right? Or your lens size and your aperture size. You're going to still have an angle of view limitation. So I look at all this stuff, and immediately I know they're fake because they're claiming to take a satellite image from 20,000 miles up. What's the temperature? 20,000 miles?
God knows, it's got to be near.
Minus anyway,
cold,
right?
Yeah. So it switches over though, but yeah.
It goes minus 150 to plus 250 in the thermosphere, whatever. I can't remember way up there in it's like minus 150, minus 250, and then it gets into the Fahrenheit, right? 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit and so forth. It's supposedly right, but I find that all these images negate the actual. How does a camera function in that environment?
It's not. No, that's the thing. It's not. It's radio wave.
So it's not a camera, right? So it's this one.
There is what there is there is a RGB on there, which will construct an 8-bit picture. However, what you also have is the radio waves, which you'll have several different sensors. So you'll have an infrared, and they'll all be concentrating on their own spectrum. Okay, so you'll have an RGB, which will be for the base color. I think the best thing to do is actually show you it perfectly with the Himawari.
Okay, Professor Phil Bell says it's 36,000 kilometers for geostationary.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with the geostationary satellites. They're claiming that the Earth is rotating. How do they sync the rotation with the satellite versus satellite that travels 17,500 miles? Is there some sort of intuitive thing there?
I don't know. I mean, Phil
that was more of a question for Phil Green.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sorry. But if you just look on the screen now, I think I'm still sharing. But the Himawari, it's often sold, even in the mainstream media, as the most pixels in a photo from space. And you can see here, obviously, there's the red, green, and blue standard colors. And what that would produce is this image. You see that there? So that gives you, and they'll always have, if it's geostationary, they'll always have this template anyway to work with as the background, because then it will match up the points to where you're getting it back with all the pings of all the different frequencies and bands that you're sending. So it will then reconstruct, or what actually happens is all these little dots get chucked down to Earth, and then it constructs this image from this data point. So it will just be data like an Excel spreadsheet, and it won't actually be an Excel spreadsheet. It's a lot more than that. But if you look at this, this is how it constructs it. And a lot of people say, yeah, it takes a photo every 10 minutes. Yes, because it has to scan it and construct it. So this is why it takes 10 minutes, because it goes through every different bit. And then what you get down here on Earth, because the processing power up there on a satellite would be way too much, and then sending a big packet down here on Earth, they've got a post-image processing, and what they do is add things like false color, which is to make it more realistic looking.
Well, when I did the Himawari research, the last I checked, it's not a single photograph, number one. And this is what the deception is claiming.
Yeah, this is it. Here. Yeah, it's like getting a panorama on your phone and doing a strip of it.
So they're claiming. photograph, and it's not. It's stitched together in pieces. You can go look at the individual data, individual strips of the Himawari satellite. You can actually check these yourself.
They're there, and it says here, so it'll do the regions.
Yeah, but this is not a single photograph clip.
No,
right?
No, definitely not.
It's not a single. So, but that's the issue here. The issue is that the Himawari is touted and noted for being a single frame image, and it's not.
Yes, no, that's exactly it. And that's, I say to Globers, right, tell me where the lens is on here, because that is the imaging device. And it is just literally probes and antennas. That is the core of it.
Maybe Professor Phil Bell that's in the chat could tell us where the camera is.
Yeah, no, there will be a mirror. And just like a telescope works, it will actually collect the RGB. Mm-hmm. That is the CCD nature, and then that gets that lights up a part of, let's say, a small tiny circuit board, and then that will then superimpose the data of what intensity of light it got per pixel to a data point, and then that will get.
So that washing machine there flies round at thousands of miles an hour. That battered old washing machine there without its casing on it.
Listen, this is an upgrade.
Miles an hour.
This is an upgrade.
Pair of glass wings on it.
Sadsack comes out the top here.
Never bumps into anything.
Here's another thing I find quite interesting.
Do you know what it looks like? It looks.
You know, they always show you these.
Hold on, go back to that image. It looks like the Dalek.
It looks like you've opened a vending machine
from the 1970s.
Coke cans.
It's something out of Wallace and Gromit.
Exterminate.
It's almost as bad as the moon lander. How the hell did they land that thing on them McDonald's straws? What they had dangling off the bottom, wrapped in tinfoil.
Look at this though. Is that actual tinfoil though?
Jacket buttons for feet.
What do you expect for £26 million?
Well, I don't know. They did have a digital A-track on there, mate. Ooh, could listen to the Beatles and everything on the way.
You know what I find interesting is I find a lot of these larger satellites aren't actually what's being launched, supposedly. They're small, like hand-sized, cube little satellite things they claim to be launching.
Yeah.
The reason why I say that is because of, I look at the stock market and I look at all these companies that are supposedly into satellite technology, and you go research the profile. It's all CGI image. It's all datas and numbers. But if you go look at the specs of them, they're like, 5 kilograms, 10 kilograms, 25 kilograms. They're not like these big things that you guys, that we're led to believe. So how long would these little 5 and 10 kilogram things stay up there if they had a balloon on them? I'd suggest they probably stay pretty long, right?
I mean, yeah, I think it is balloons, and balloons combined with drone technology now as well. A balloon like a Zephyr type thing, like what the Hindenburg like type thing, just like that, but with electric motors on it and solar panels and stuff to recharge all the batteries, mate. It could stay up there indefinitely, and it could be a static satellite, 70,000.
How do they recharge? But how do they recharge in minus 250? How do they recharge in that? The electricity loses like half of its strength, if not more than that, the colder it goes.
Allow the satellite solar panels recharge on.
No, the charge itself. The charge loses it. Basically, if you left Earth with the same charge and got into minus 250, your charge is reduced by half.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, cold affects batteries, doesn't it?
Yeah. So how do these satellites run efficiently if they're using less?
They just insulate the batteries and all the electronics. Like, I mean, look at how people send balloons up there now. Dwayne Kellum, perfect example, 125,000 feet up he sends or something.
Well, but at 120,000 feet, you still got cold temperatures, but you're not sitting at minus 250. You know what I mean? You're not sitting at
you're not sitting at minus 250.
I would beg to differ a little bit though, because in the advent of quantum computers, they have to be cooled down at those temperatures, super cooled, so to say. Yeah, but that's super cooled inside of a machine. That is not an external environment. That's an internal environment, Gleam. It's an internal environment. D-Wave's an internal environment. We're looking at an external environment that is subjected to a material. Yeah, I agree. We're having material be subjected. It's like we're taking dry ice and whatever liquid nitrogen. The machine uses liquid nitrogen, right?
What is the process? Liquid nitrogen and whatever else, but it's the state inside they're creating with liquid nitrogen. We're being subjected to an environment out there.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, but the coldness kind of helps magnetism and or electromagnetism because
it makes it go longer, right?
Yeah, it can increase its strength, but in exact same way, they would have to protect against that, and they would have to have shielding against all their wires. Obviously,
it doesn't create. I thought it loses its charge, but the problem is that loses half of its strength when it's colder. But it can be run longer because it doesn't overheat.
Yeah, but look, I mean, a lot of these, these drones that they build to fly up there, they build them, mate. They're written about. They're in the system already. They use them already. They're there. They're written about. They say they're a support for the satellites. They're not. They are.
You're talking about Google Loom, right?
Not just that. There's other ones.
No, have you not seen the Boeing one?
They've been doing them since 1970, mate. They've been making them since. I can link a website now, mate. Where it clearly states
the drones that they have are
government contracted.
Yeah, the drones are crazy. Yeah, man. They don't even need satellites anymore. No, they didn't need Air Force pilots. They claim.
But look, the batteries.
The United States Army is already telling the future they're not going to use pilots anymore. They're already saying it. So yeah, the drones are ridiculous. And what we're told is they advance 10 years. That's the drones.
They're advanced on us 10 years with drones, mate.
I have my own DJI drone, my own Inspire drone, my own little Mac Mini. They're great. But if I got access to that, and I can buy
systems now that link into the mobile phone system, mate. You can fly hundreds and hundreds of miles, mate, using the mobile phone network. That's
the light band,
DJI's old school, mate.
Or light band or whatever they have for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just that's what I'm saying. If I have access to 7 miles, if I can fly my drone for 7 miles, before it was commercial, you could. Now it's commercial and everything is licensed now, and here in Canada anyway, with the PCC.
I got home built drones that can fly 30 miles. I've got
the Matrix and all that stuff
on them. They can fly 30 miles, mate.
Right.
Okay, guys, listen. Hold on. Well, SE in the chat says, if you think these satellites are something, research the lunar orbiter of the 60s that took film exposures, developed them in space, scanned them, and sent them back to Earth.
Yeah, exactly, mate. You can imagine the astronauts on the moon with one of them frames like in the 40s. Boom! Big cloud of smoke goes up, mate, and they've all got the gold visors on so they don't get a flash. You know what I mean? Ready, guys? Boom! Big puff of smoke. Right, home time. Get the sarnies out. Going back up to the other tin box now. We've left the other guy in there on his own.
Okay, so we got a new
zero G.
We've got a new
and brushing his teeth.
We've got a new panel member tonight, so try thinking. Do you want to tell the audience what side of the argument you're on, flat or globe?
Yeah, I'm a realist.
You're a realist, man. Yeah.
It's I can't hold to a flat Earth because mountains and valleys, right?
Well, it's not flat as linear, isn't it? You can take flat as literal, mate, and you can talk it about as flat like a kitchen table, but then you just look like a ridiculous clown.
Yeah, you can't defend a flat Earth, but you can defend water level.
Talking about flat Earth is just a figure of speech, mate. You can't walk around going, I'm a linear earther. I'm a linear earther. It's just a figure of speech. And if you're going to, jump on anyone that uses that term, then... you're making them sound ridiculous again, mate. It's just a figure of speech. We're all flat earthers, mate, because we don't believe the Earth's a ball. So if it's not a ball, it's not a cube, is it?
Well, I didn't say it had to be a cube.
No, that's what I'm saying. Well, what shape could it be? It looks flat, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's flat, isn't it?
Topography of the land.
Yeah, but it's linear. Of course, it's got mountains and stuff on it. A foot past linear, mate, but it's got bricks lying along the side of it, so it's not exactly flat, is it? The only thing that you can say is flat's your kitchen floor or your kitchen table. But at the end of the day, linear is flat. It's a level surface, mate, with bumps on it if you want.
Yeah, you can say the water level. The water level is a horizontal plane.
A water level earther. A water level earther, but we don't live on water, mate. We live on land.
I'm just a realist.
What's a realist? I'm a realist, mate.
Uh-huh. You upset about something, Rude?
Well, no, well, Mark
Yeah.
was saying something in the chat. What was going on there, bro? 'Cause I don't
Mark
even know
Taylor
you.
says something and you get upset.
Well, I don't know you, and I don't know Mark Taylor, so
Well,
Nah, he's
Right.
cool. He's
and you
cool
jumped
either
on
way,
chat,
Rude.
aren't you, to come and say, obviously, so.
yeah,
He's-
Mark Taylor's winding you up, Rude.
He's cool.
All right,
He
well,
was
fair enough, that's all
questioning
you have to
Jesse and
say.
all them
That's all
lot.
you had to say. That's fine.
Yeah.
If you want slagging me off on your channel, mate, that's all you had to say. That's fine. Because I don't know you, mate, and I'm not in on that
I don't have a
argument.
chance.
All I'm doing is presenting my flat earth stuff. I think Ranty's in the right, so I've been on his side, sort of backing him because he's in the right. But you know, to be having people slagging you off, and I've already caught that Emma UK slagging me off. I don't even know the woman. You know, I'm not even interested, mate. I'm stated my case because I'm on Ranty's side, because at the end of the day, I was in that chat that day and I seen what went on. The money was specifically stated it was for Ranty. Even Roxanne said it herself.
All right.
So, you know, that's it at the end of, mate. If you want slagging me off, that's fair enough. That's all you had to say. So, yeah, that's why I was a bit riled with you.
Because Mark Taylor told you something. You
Don't matter about Mark Taylor. Anyone could tell me anything. I'm going to find out for myself. You've been presented the opportunity to accept it or deny it, admit it or deny it. So you've just denied it, so that's fair enough.
I think the word flat bothers him. I think he doesn't get the implied notion of linear. He's actually looking at the literal word flat, and it's bugging him.
Yeah. I'm a literalist, definitely.
So we know there's undulations in topography, man. It's just a figurative speech. It's not, it's not literally flat.
I know.
It's got.
Can you go through your ideas, though? I'd really love to hear your ideas, because I have heard you on Jose's and you come from a good perspective, I think.
That's just a realist. It's topography, but the water level is horizontal. That's what level means. Horizontal, right? There's not wrong with that.
If you're a realist, if you're a realist, and ask me, let me ask you if this is real enough. If you can calculate physical drop for a 6-foot observer, 10-foot observer standing on the shore,
Geometry.
would it not be more real that if the higher I went, I'd be able to measure more curve? I mean, you guys are claiming you can measure
up a mountain, right? I mean, I'm just on about the water level.
No, just listen to my question first.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about being a realist. So in reality of the globe, they're claiming they can actually measure a physical ball standing on the shore 6 feet tall. They can measure quite a bit of drop for an observer. Would it conclude, for you being a realist, if I was to elevate in the air, would there be less curvature or more curvature, being that I could measure it as a 6-foot observer?
Are you looking over water level?
Just in general, bud. Just a question based on the observer's height.
You have to be specific. Are you like on the top of a mountain?
So I'll repeat it again.
It,
I don't know how more specific I can be.
On the water.
Listen, I'll ask again. If you, sir, are measuring physical curvature on the Earth from your height, your vantage point, would it be logical and real to say the higher I go, I should be able to measure more curvature?
If there was curvature there to measure, you would measure the curvature, surely. Going up higher wouldn't help you measure anything, would it?
Would you like me to repeat my question again? I don't think you got it.
You can keep saying it.
Listen. For you to measure...
Who is this that I'm talking to? Sorry.
For you to measure physical curvature for your vantage point, 6 feet tall, whatever tall you are, you can actually claim there's measurable drop, measurable dip. Would it not conclude and be reality that if I went higher, there would be more measurable dip curvature?
Well, I'd measure with a level, right? And then if I was moving with the level, I mean, I'd just use the level, right? And you'd measure
Are you listening? Are you listening to yourself, bro?
No, well, how would you measure
I'll repeat it a third time. I don't know.
Who is this I'm talking to? Sorry.
I'm not sure if it's registering in your
Yeah,
brain, but I'll
this
try
is
it again for
this
you.
is flat Earth data you're talking to.
All right. Okay.
And just, I think the reason that we're discussing about this level thing is that the globers say that level is flat. Level is curved. That's their argument now. Level is curved. So when you say level, we still don't know whether you believe in the globe model or flat Earth here.
It's level is horizontal. That's my deal, right? Have you never heard? I've got a test, and there's a geometric proof that level is horizontal. The ballers don't like it, but I mean it's a geometric proof, and there's a practical proof that level is horizontal. There's a logical proof that level is horizontal. Now, you do what you want, but like raising up won't help you find whether the datum that you're going to use, level, is horizontal or not. I say it is.
That's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is, for a 6-foot observer, the globe is suggesting that he can measure, or she can measure, visible, noticeable dip. And this is what's responsible for that is physical curvature. Well, logically, following that logical premise, wouldn't it be also logical that if I can measure physical curvature at 6 feet, the higher I go, wouldn't more curvature be measurable or noticeable if I can measure it already at 6 feet?
What curvature can you measure at 6 feet?
Well, that's a great question. See, the globers think they can measure dip.
Well, no, they do. They think level curves, but the water level is horizontal. So
they think they can measure bottom-up obstruction is a measurement of physical curvature.
Yeah,
they're claiming this is happening at 6 feet, and it's measurable.
Mm-hmm.
They're completely ignoring optical factors, and they're claiming it's a physical factor.
Yeah, they're completely ignoring Euclidean geometry. They have no geometry that, in order to do the measurements that they say they can do. It's quite simple.
No, they're just missing out on the optical aspect entirely.
There is no optical aspect of measuring, is there?
Well, the convergence of light is an optical effect. It's not a measurement. It's not any geometry or anything. It's a natural byproduct built from our human eye. Put it in not so elegant way, but it's a natural function of the human eye to converge light into our retina, right? Into the it's called convergence. You should look it up.
Yeah.
But it's what happens when light enters your eye. It converges into a point. Now you have resolvable detail in that light, okay, based on its wavelength and distance, and also the angle that it's coming from, right? So these are the factors that are optical, purely optical, not mathematical. It's purely optical.
Yeah. Well, I come from a realistic building type background, so I work from a surveyor's type background, and that's purely geometrical. Right, they measure distances.
The eye perfectly does this wonderful thing with Earth, where based on a 130-degree angle of view, we have a 60-degree vertical view roughly, and our eye loves to divide the horizon line right into the center focal point position. It's easily demonstrated in any man-made obstruction that's a long enough hallway. You can see the eye. And obviously the construction of the dimensions of the hallway being they're equal. I'd imagine everything is equal in the construction of a hallway. That they're made out of rectangular plane pieces, and you can clearly see a vanishing point or convergence of light. The walls and the ceiling and the ground are not converging. It's just because the limited angle of light coming from the object. That's why you don't need a 3 mile long hallway to see the vanishing point or convergence. It's smaller angles of light coming off of objects. So it's basically purely an optical function of our vision that's completely ignored in all observations when it comes to calculating the Earth.
They don't calculate by looking at things, though, do they?
That's how they calculated the distance to the horizon, or the hijacked the apparent junction of the sky and ground is what's been hijacked. The that particular function of vision and the world we live in has been turned into a ball, and the math, it really comes down to actually the number of man, ironically.
Well, Can I just ask, sorry, TR, I really want to run down your line of thinking of your, on a surveying wise, are you on the understanding that 2 points on Earth are being measured by a plumb bob, they're both straight, or parallel to the Earth, so to say, perpendicular to the Earth, should I say.
Sweet, I love that word.
Yeah, and then you add the mathematical angle of curvature to your measurement, which is 90 degree. So are you of that understanding, in as much as would you say they measure curve with surveying, or do they calculate curve?
It's level. I'll say it again. Level is a horizontal plane.
Defo. Yep.
Right. So there is no measurement of curvature to be done, because your datum, if your datum is horizontal, then you need a drop from that horizontal, and the water level is horizontal. It doesn't drop.
Yep. No, get that.
So I don't know. You can have as much topography as you want, but if level is horizontal, then that's what water is. And there's a lot of water, and if that's horizontal, there's no curve.
Okay, so basically you're a flat earther then.
There's topography. If you want to say that a flat earther, that's what I am, then everybody else does.
Yeah, I said basically.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It can't be a ball.
Okay, so what's your best proofs then? You know what I mean? I mean, you say you've got a test that you want to do?
Yeah.
Walk us through it.
Right. My story started a bit ago, and Fight the Flat Earth said to me,
Hey, try thinking. Can I just say, mate, before if you're a surveyor, my cousins are surveyors.
Listen, I'm not a surveyor. I did surveying a few years ago. I've got a level. I've got plenty of levels. I've got water levels. I've been sorting this test out, right?
Right.
But that came from Fight the Flat Earth. We were looking at the Isle of Man. We just spotted the Isle of Man from the beacon, 85 miles. And they were talking on Twitter saying that the horizon rises to eye level. And I said, don't be stupid. That levels don't rise. Levels are horizontal. Might look like it rises to your eye level because it disappears, right? So, but it can't actually rise.
No, obviously not.
To which Fight the Flat Earth had a flip and started calling me a child abuser for teaching my child that.
Well, it's just like you say, it's perpendicular, isn't it? It's the sky and the ground. If they never meet, it's just a straight. That's why I say it's just a linear surface, mate. The sky and the ground, to me, are two linear things. They just run, they run parallel to each other like a train track, and they just appear to me off in the distance as a train track does. That's basically it.
Now I know who you are, though, and salute to you, sir, because seriously, I watched that whole escapade, and it was absolutely embarrassing for Fight the Flat Earth. He was so wrong to even breach or go into a personal life.
He doesn't know what he unleashed, though. So
yeah, I can only imagine,
him,
my man.
Right, because I was just a normal bloke with a kid who was got a camera taking things and looking at it. I was a nobody, average dude.
To be honest, it's the ridicule and this snotty arrogance, mate, and the assumption that you're some sort of lunatic or imbecile.
Yeah, you weren't doing anything wrong,
mate. That's what absolutely drives me.
You weren't doing anything wrong at all.
Right. Well, I said that, and then he said, child abuser, and I thought, okay, it's just something I know. Now, how do I have to prove that to myself, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. I know exactly how you feel.
How do you prove it? I mean, like
You gotta
you
show it,
lot,
aren't you?
I don't know. I've got
Like,
a bit of a surveying background. So I start thinking, we've just been to the Bedford Levels. Dr. John and Roxanne and all of them sat in the dinghy. My lad filmed it.
Yeah.
So we've just been there. And as we're there, I'm thinking, what the hell are they doing here? You know, we had a great day out, but I mean, what are you trying to do? You're shining lasers and you're sending a guy off on a boat going down the way on the canal. The canal's water level, right? So I'm thinking, well, if I could get a measure and we get a surveyor's level and we'll go run along the bank and we'll take a level from there, follow the level all the way down, level it down to the water and do that, and it'll be the same level. And then I'm thinking, yeah, of course it'll be the same level. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
Water is level.
And the plumb will be level.
Perpendicular, right? Because in order to have a perpendicular,
otherwise
you
it's
need
crazy,
two
and
straight
it's like-
lines.
You know, may I interject something? What blows my mind is a lot of these observations are made with opticals, right? With lenses, with telescopes or cameras, right? What are the cameras designed to do? They're designed to zoom in over a level plane. Try to zoom in over a hill. You'll have to tilt your fucking camera upward. So when like a physical hill, when you're on, it just blows my mind that you're zooming across a level plane using a telephoto lens. And it's not part of the equation.
It doesn't really come into it.
Yeah, but
We might
everybody's
test
using
anyway.
everybody's using these optics, and they're not discussing what the optics do. What's the optics designed for? You know, it just blows my mind how it's just overlooked constantly.
Professor Phil Bell wants to ask Liam a question. He's been harping on about this.
£10. £10 super chat. Did he do a super chat?
Do you believe there are geostationary satellites?
Possible.
So that's a neither, either, or.
Put it this way: anything you ask me, I can neither confirm is possible or impossible. I can't confirm is impossible. Put it this way: if you said, "Gleam, the ghost exists," I can only say. I mean, I've actually had an experience, but we won't go there. But either way, I can say I cannot prove to you that they are impossible. Put it that way. Yes, I get that from Feynman himself. If anyone looks up uncertainty, Feynman, he does a 4 or 5 minute chat on BBC, and he's literally saying, I'm happy not knowing a lot of things. He goes, there's some things that I know a little about, there's a lot of things I know nothing about. And he goes, but I'm happy with that. At the end of the day, I'm happy with not knowing, because that makes the world a little bit more of a, if you know everything and you're a know-it-all, then there's no more exploring to do in your mind. So I, in the same way, I've always spoke to Phil, and I've always said, look, at the end of the day, I understand the globe model works. There's been hundreds of years ploughed into it, of hardcore science ploughed into it, or scientists building models and refining it and structuring it. And that's what really cracks me up, is that this whole model has been built around the optics. We use the optics and then calculate it, and it will always measure out to how they've made the model, and it's as if they're shocked.
Not really. It doesn't.
Well, no,
it doesn't
not
measure
all the
out.
time.
No, does
no,
it?
not all the time. But when let's say Soundleys Bridge, okay, we know that there's compression of telephoto lens there. We know that there's an angle. I mean, I've calculated it, and it's about half.
He lives in a
half a degree or
swamp,
1.
surrounded by mountainous terrain. He lives in a swamp. And it's just the area that he lives in. It's going to get that effect. It's going to be very humid down there, that's going to create that kind of effect.
But still, they've just done that. I don't know whether you see the presentation on Jose's, but the GPS signals. So that, in the same way, is the same thing. It's what they're doing is they're using a Cartesian
bridge.
Exactly that.
That's a joke.
And I hope you were going to come in and come from this angle, but when you're measuring GPS, it will give you a point.
I did it before that, mate.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
old school. There was no GPS when I did surveying.
no, but GPS is similar to what you were saying with the Bedford level. You could go to one end and it'd be straight. All it is let's imagine that you had every 100 meters you had a point that was straight up and plumb lined. Now that is GPS. As you're going down there, it's giving you a point, but it's obviously giving you multiple all the way down. Now,
Well, seeing as that you've just mentioned GPS, I mean, a lot of Globers are asking, how do we even have it?
I mean, there's many arguments, but there's again, I will always come from the point of view I can't prove anything. I mean, put it this way: it could be a flat Earth, and there is little boxes floating up there due to electromagnetism. I mean, that is one out there possibility. Put it.
I believe that's more. I believe the weight class of these satellites. I believe they're doing something like that, man. It has to be, because if they're claiming that they can track them, because what was your last conversation with Dean? He had an issue with the velocity of one and the turnaround of it, because it wouldn't work on a flat Earth, right?
Yeah, I still don't get it to this day.
Well, there's these they're called RTSs. I think they're called RTS relay. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Let me just see satellite here. I should have brought it up before I talked about it.
I mean, my industry, my background is telecoms. I mean, I've helped set up 2 mobile phone companies, and the current company I'm working for at the moment is energy monitoring, and we have GPS devices. And I know about it. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know about it, and I know in as much as coding and trying to make program an app to use GPS and location services to refine a position of an engineer, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
So it's just Brandon Toy says let him finish the point about the bridge and the GPS. Sorry, I didn't intersect there. So yeah, maybe you should just conclude that if you can.
Yeah, the core thing is Soundly's obviously got that bendy curvy bridge. I had a massive argument with Al Kay about it. He done hit pieces on me. What happened is when he was doing it live, I come into the live stream and I said, look at you all, you're all idiots. You're all thinking that curve of Earth is actually physical curvature, when you can blatantly see it straight all the way up half the picture until you get to a dark patch of water. And then from there onwards, it starts refracting and everything starts waving. And Al Kay done a massive hit piece on me saying, Gleam doesn't know anything. And the reason why I said it is that I've got a big, massive 50 centimetre ruler, and I smacked it on my big screen TV. And it was exactly lined up. It was perfectly straight up until one point, and then when the sea turned dark, it just all of a sudden went massive bend. So either way, the GPS will work in exactly the same way as I've just explained there on the Bedford level thing, where you can have hundreds of points all along the bridge at equal spacing. If you were to take a plane surveyor's methodology and use a Cartesian coordinate system, you would still come up with those same points. They would just be on a flat Earth, and they would still curve like that. It would just be because it's an optical effect.
Did you see them?
Yeah, I see.
Did you see the heights of all of them positions he plotted as he went across?
I didn't actually know. Go on.
What? They're on there. I got my lad to do a few. They're all pretty much the same height, apart from where the bridge goes up to about 16 meters, drops back down again. But they're all the same height all the way along.
Yeah.
So that the only thing you can conclude from that is they think the curvature's already there. And also, did you spot the bit? Because what he said he did, he got the data and he handed it to Walter, and Walter made a computer software program to make it match Soundly's bridge. So that's how they got the curvature. Right. Now, Did you see that height of the arc in the middle?
The bridge, the middle bridge.
He has a measurement. Yeah.
That's it. I did see all of the whole stream. Yeah.
So because he only left it on there for a second or two.
Yeah.
28.5 meters. There is a rise in the middle of that bridge, according to Walter's data.
And the gaps underneath the bridge are about 50 meters from memory from when I was analysing it all. But Yeah, I mean, just to get to the point on that, the Cartesian coordinate system is programmed into all theodolites that have got GPS functionality. And what you have to do is you go through the menu system and then you get a model setting, which everyone will be aware. You've got the WGS 84 and you've got a perfect sphere. So just a spheroid instead of an ellipsoid. Now, you can set. So let's say you take all your measurements in Cartesian. You can then set
perpendiculars, right? Just for anybody that isn't aware. That's X, Y, Z coordinates, all perpendicular to each other. Straight lines.
Yep. So just taking a plumb line, you've got your 90 degrees, and then you take your next point, same thing, all the way down as if you've got a row of lampposts, all exactly the same. Now, all you do on the theodolite is you can drop down the menu and you can then select WGS, and it will then, exactly the same as how that satellite works, it will then project those coordinates onto where it should be on a globe. And that's what gets me about all of this theodolite work, all this GPS work, is that they match up their own model, which has spent years building and refining and making sure it's perfect, but never falsify it against the flat model, because the flat model works absolutely fine.
They measure from point to point using triangulation, basic.
Yeah, well, if you,
That's it.
The state plane coordinate system is where a lot of it began with. In the 1930s, I think it was, there was a particular guy who was a meteorologist over in the States. He basically said, and I wouldn't put it this way, if you look on Wiki, it does actually go down this road, but it's basically, we use triangles and assumed a flatness from these triangles because it was much easier than assuming a spherical model. So the distance between the points, basically, of these triangles would mean that they could get lots done and a lot quicker, rather than actually assuming a globe and accounting for all of that. The maths would be a lot slower. So they built this whole framework about these triangles, which turned into later the Universal Traverse Mercator, which is, again, a Cartesian model, flat, but then they add in the curvature to what it would be. It's basically a map projection. That's what it is, but it's a model projection.
Okay.
You can project it to whatever.
So Professor Phil Bell's made a question. Well, it's kind of a question, but I want to turn it around on him. So he says, we get sat phone and GPS communications in Antarctica. No cables and no cell phone towers. Explain that, Gleam. Okay, so you're looking at that from the globe perspective. How about you turn that around and look at it from a flat Earth perspective and ask that same question to yourself? Think about it, Professor Phil. Dead easy. Sorry, guys, carry on.
No, I'm sure. I mean, in answer to that, I'm sure isn't Antarctica a commonly known place to launch balloons because of its distance and whatnot? So what's to say that they haven't already got just balloons dotted all around? Or one of those solar-powered drones that have just add up on the screen there.
Well, if they're claiming billions of pounds to launch one satellite, mate, it's a fraction of that to launch these balloons and drones. It's an absolute fraction, mate. You know, a ridiculous fraction. $1 billion, mate. $1 billion satellite or $10 billion satellite. You know, thousands of drones, hundreds of thousands of drones, mate. And have more flying around all day, taking off and landing one after the other in a big ring around, much like a little satellite train going round the world. You know, it could quite easily be done. You only have to look at drone displays, and you make massive 3D models with thousands of little quadcopters, mate, all flying around in sync. You know, they make 3D globes in the sky and 3D dragons in the sky, mate, and they're all just following a pattern on software, mate. Not thousands of people sat there driving them all. You just follow each other, mate. You just follow the software. You know, they've got even on the drone rant he's got. I mean, my one hasn't got it because it's a little bit older. But you know, even on the one he's got, it's got like this LiDAR type technology, mate. You can literally fly it towards a tree, mate. Just keep pressing forward, and if you've got it switched on, it'll dodge around the tree. It's sensing its own surroundings, mate. It can see the other satellites. It can see the other drones, mate. It can dodge them. That's the type of shit they've got, mate. And we're 20 years behind on that. Don't let them kid you and say we're 10 years behind. We're 20 years behind, mate, on the technology they're pumping out and what they've got.
I often laugh and to my packer buddies, or what do you call them, prepper buddies. I said, okay, so you're prepping, but what are you going to do when they lock down the city? Oh, I'll start making my way to the woods. And I said, well, what about the drones with can detect your body heat?
They've just been using them in China.
I know. I'm just saying, like, there's just no way out.
Yeah, there's no way, man. They're using them now in China, mate. There was a guy. You've got these. Have you seen them little square code things, whatever they call them? I don't use them, but where you see them on like
QR codes.
The QR code. That's it. You got to carry one of them around
Never heard of it.
on a little piece of card, mate, and flash it out the window when a drone comes down from above a road at a checkpoint and all this time. And he even said when it first happened, the guy didn't know what was happening. A Chinese guy obviously lives in a little village somewhere, mate. He's come into a town, and this thing with red lights has come down on him out the sky. And he jumped out of his car and ran off, and it chased him for 1.5 miles into the field, just followed him, mate. And he just gave up in the end, just lay on the ground. There's like a video out there about it somewhere, mate. I remember watching it when it first happened a few months ago, like when it all kicked off in China. But yeah, they just lock onto you, mate. Even with my drone, I mean, mine is, like I say, a little bit older than Rampy's. I can literally put chase cam on, launch it into the air, and then I think you like wave at it, and then it locks onto you if you've waved at it. And you can walk down the road, you can ride a motorbike down the road, you can run down the road. That drone, once you've set all the parameters for it, the height, distance away from you want it to have, and all that type of stuff, it'll just follow you along, mate, till the batteries run out and then land itself. What have they got? You know what I mean?
Oh, they've got some really good technology. Believe you me.
I'm telling you, mate. One of my mates in the RAF flies the drones. And he literally flies them from Herefordshire, mate, and he's flying them over Afghanistan and that.
Well, what's the latest iPhone they've got right now? Is it iPhone 11 or something?
11's just coming out now, isn't it?
So they're probably on iPhone 16 in reality.
And the rest.
Yeah, but they just give you a little bit of extra technology on every new phone. You know?
That's it. Just squeeze a little bit more out.
But yeah, I mean, go ahead,
feeding. It's drip feeding. It's a market strategy anyway.
Yeah, that's it. Of course it is.
That is a massive market strategy. Is try to not jump too far ahead of yourself.
That's why before, like, the real corporate monster took grip years ago, that's why they say, they used to build things to last in the old days. Well, yeah, they did, because it wasn't so consumer based then. Everyone just wanted to have the best product and the best name, and everyone sort of stood by pride on the name. Now it's just who can get the cheapest and the fast, and the next one out, and the next better one, like you say, the next model. There's none of that built to last anymore. We're a throwaway society now. We used to be a repair society, didn't we, and fix things and make things last and all that. But now we just want to chuck the old one away and buy a new one. It's consumerism, isn't it? It's gripped us now, full on. And now the corporations, they want to get involved, like, politically, and that's all they're doing, mate. They're buying legislation, mate. They're buying rules and regulations for their own benefit, and we're just there like idiots walking around. These governments are making little rules, and everyone, oh no, it doesn't affect me. It does, mate. It will one day.
Yeah, what we're doing, we're asking for the technology. We're demanding better technology, and they give us a little bit. They give us a little bit, but if you can't see where this is going,
that's how they engineer us, mate. It's like they've had people out chanting on the streets for about the environment. It's like these people almost want the environment to fucking they want the government to up the environmental charges on them, mate. Like we haven't got enough tax to pay. Going out and asking for the government to spank your arse even more, mate, and giving them permission. Look at the carrier bag charges and all that. It never used to be all that. I think carrier bags look smart in the sea. They look like colourful jellyfish. They look cool, mate. Loads in my sea. Not wrong with them. Not wrong with a good carrier bag. And how the turtle's going to do lines of sand, mate? You've seen them turtles with all them straws stuck up their noses. They'd be lost without them straws, mate. Parties would be well dull.
Madness.
Right, guys, have you ever watched the series Black Mirror?
I haven't, no, but I know about it.
Oh man, I mean, The best one I saw was Nosedive, and that's the way I see that this civilization's going. Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you look what's going on with this coronavirus right now, how people are looking down the nose at you and judging you if you go out. You go out and clap on a Thursday. If you don't go out and clap on a Thursday, your house is noted for not standing at the front door or banging a drum at your front door or something.
Mine's well noted, Dan. Mine's well noted.
And
I've
you've
actually
socially
gone outside
scored.
my door and laughed at all my neighbours doing it, mate, because I think they look like an absolute bunch of lunatics, lad. They're all dancing around and throwing their arms and legs in the air and waving at each other. Honestly, it's like proper mental.
But you are socially scored over that. You're socially scored. Whether you think it or not, they are still socially scoring you.
Mate, I went shopping this afternoon, yeah, and I'm not even being disrespectful, but I went, some old people, they can look like, as if they're almost gone, innit, do you know what I mean? Very rough looking, let's say, that almost corpsey, not being tight on them. But, we was in shopping today, mate, and this old woman, I don't know how old she was, mate, she was fucking 80% bald and that. She looked like she got out of a box, but she had one of these blue surgical masks on, mate, and I fucking shit myself when I turned the corner. I thought, what the fuck, mate? I expected to have a load of pair of rubber gloves on, all hanging off her fingers and that, and reaching out for me. I thought, fuck, I just wanted to get out of there, mate. I think it's creepy.
Corpsey, I like it.
Oh, she was, man. She was proper corpsey, I was expecting to get around the corner, mate, and another one pop out of one of the freezers and just start sitting up on me. Fucking Finders crispy pancakes in the hand, mate.
But I think what I'm trying to say, going back to the technology and stuff, it's weird how they can condition people to. If you watch that particular episode called Nosedive, and what they've done now is they've proved that this social scoring can actually happen because people will make comment about other people social distancing and stuff like this. So they're already doing it. People are already social scoring other people. And that's what they want. They want people to police other people so that they can conform to whatever they put out.
Are you not aware this has been in full swing in China for the past 7 years?
Yes.
With the Sesame credit.
Well, isn't it more the government that does that rather than the people social scoring them?
No, it's a government incentive scheme. It started voluntary, but I think it's going to go compulsory. But what it is it's like your Facebook, but government-led. And what it is literally the bare bones of it is if you send out a positive message, which is pro-government, your credit rating goes up. If you send out an anti-government conspiracy theorist type message, your credit score goes down, but everyone who is your friend gets deducted a point as well.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it means that people are policing people, and that's the ultimate, isn't it?
Well, yeah, somewhat. I think with the Nosedive, it was more, on everything that you basically did. If you was walking down the street and you had a frown on your face, they kind of social scored you down. You've got to be happy all the time. You've got to open doors for people at every opportunity. You've got to, everything that you do is marked. Every single thing, is scored and marked by everybody. Whether that comes about, maybe it was a little bit OTT, but like what you're saying now, it's already happening in China, and it was the same sort of thing. So in China, you can't get the buses or the trains, or you can't get an aeroplane and things if you haven't got a high enough score. Well, this was the same sort of thing. On Nosedive, it was exactly the same sort of thing.
On that Black Mirror. Yeah. I mean, that was exactly it. The way how I learned of it actually is kicking in is I watch UFC, and there's this guy, I'm heavily into martial arts, and there's this guy over in China called Zhu Daozhong. And he basically, you must have seen the odd video of his where he went on a tyrant. He's a UFC guy, an MMA guy, pretty stocky, and he goes on a tyrant of taking on all the old martial art, the traditional things like Tai Chi, Wing Chun, and all the old styles, and saying, look, all your old style are just exercises. They're not practical in a real fight. Come and fight me. And within a couple of seconds, he's put a couple of them right on their ass. But he himself, because he disrespected a huge Tai Chi master who was sort of master of multiple schools. He was actually a government official. And so, not that they were okay with it, but the Chinese government didn't kick in until he had disrespected a governor who was part of the government. And immediately he couldn't fight in China unless he painted his face and disguised his face and changed his name from Xu Daozhong to Giant Watermelon Panda. So he literally had to ridicule himself in public in order to fight. However, in order to get to the fight, it would normally be, let's say, from Manchester to London. That would be his journey. But instead of taking the fast train, which would take 4 hours, he had to take like the coach, which took 12, 13 hours or at least, you know what I mean? And then when he got there, you're not allowed to stay in anywhere over a 3-star hotel. So it has to be 2-star and below.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to travel on any of the posh trams or trains in and around.
It wouldn't surprise me if that actually happens and goes worldwide, actually. Because, you know, watching it, you could see how it's actually starting to pan out. Listen, I've got a couple of super chats to shout out. So, Clear says, Hurricane Hunter airplanes because of no satellites. B-Ball5 says, Gleam, how would a lunar eclipse work on a flat Earth? And then Colin Dresser somewhat addresses that and says, B-Ball, what is the moon? And how does it display a quarter moon with the sun next to it and the Earth below it? Good question, Colin Dresser. Yeah, I mean, when you watch that series, Black Mirror, it kind of like, it's predictive programming, for sure. You know, everything that was in that, you watch it as someone that's awake, you know, you actually as someone that's awake that knows what's going on, and you can see what they're trying to say in all of it, and yet you get the normies that are out there, and they tell you about this. Well, you'll talk to them about Black Mirror, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, it was like proper sci-fi, that wasn't it? Yeah." You go, sci-fi, you know, like really? What you don't think it was in any way, shape, or form could be real? No, it was too way out there. You know, no, I don't think that would ever happen. And it's like you can't see. You can literally see how things are going to be in the future with that. If you watch that series and you look 20 years down the line, you will see that whatever they said in this is probably going to be all of it, at least there. I mean, they had the consciousness of people inside these robots and things. You know, they were able to download the consciousness. Yeah. And it's like, it was like the Matrix. And I'm like, oh, this is too much. Because it seems that this is the technology that they're putting out now makes you want to kind of interact with technology. Yeah, definitely. And then you see all these AI robots and them trying to have conversations with them on TV and stuff. They are implanting a certain thing, a certain acceptance.
Maybe we are the AI. Maybe the people who built the pyramids built us, and we became self-aware and done them in.
I mean, just to answer the super chat,
just simply like, innit? We're not having it anymore, mate. We're better than you. Boom, see you later. They made us, we finished it.
Recarve that face off. We don't want the Pharaoh's face on there.
Exactly, get that lion crap off there, mate. Put one of us on. Hey, go on, put Jim's mum on there, mate. Go on, she looks all right.
Put Roman Jim's mum on there. But anyway, just to answer people in the super chat, he needs to. Here is a mechanism. Let's say if a lot of ballers love tangibility, and these things are tangible. You can go and look them up. NASA are aware of them, but there is these things called Birkeland currents, and they come out of the North Pole. And what they are is part of the magnetic field. And they are basically a vortex of tubes which spin the opposite way. Now that sounds weird as hell. I had to slow that right down because they're concentric circles. If you imagine a cup and then a Russian doll type thing with another cup inside and another cup inside and another cup inside. Now the outer cup is going clockwise, the next cup along is going anti-clockwise, the next one along is going clockwise, and as you go in. So look these up, Birkeland currents, just so you're aware, they're discovered by Kristen Birkeland, who was actually James Van Allen's assistant. he went up to the Northern Lights and he studied the Northern Lights and discovered these. Later on, NASA found that they were absolutely spot on. He was fine. He was spot on with this concentric circle type thing. Now, getting into that, on a lunar eclipse, the sun and the moon are directly opposite each other on a flat Earth. Now, what is directly in between them? This vortex. Now, when you shine light through a magnetic field, just on its own, it will not polarize completely, as in it will not disappear. However, if you get multiple of these tubes, then it will have an effect, and they have actually tried and actually replicated it in a lab with a massive high magnetic field and managed to deflect light using it, only slightly and only by millimeters basically, but there's your mechanism. You've got a massive tube of magnetism that are all spinning each individual ways and going out of the Earth, basically running parallel upwards, and then you've got the sun's light coming in 90 degrees, which could have a polarizing effect. So there's a mechanism, a scientific mechanism for you, if you're not satisfied with the other answer of the other super track.
Nicely done there, Gleam. Listen, Mind of God in the chat said he's got his first viral video, so I've just put his channel up, and he's absolutely right. I mean, you know, typical video of his gets around about 100 views or 80 views, something like that. But a video he put out one day ago called "You Have No Right to Not Be Vaccinated," and it has had 39,000 views in one day. 39,000 views. That is astonishing. And he's gone up to 825 subscribers. Yeah.
Well in team up, man.
Doesn't that take him over the...
That's what's getting the truth out there, mate. That's what it is.
And it's just a 1 minute video. It's just a 1 minute video, 39,000 views. Awesome stuff. At any moment now, you're going to pass that 1,000 subscriber mark, I'm telling you. Because, yeah, wow. Tell us how many subscribers you put on from that one viral video. I'd like to know. And see if we can get you up to 100,000 views as well. That'd be ace. What do you say, Rude Earther, about that? 39,000 views, man.
That is sick, mate. I'm telling you, well done, man. Well done. That's what it is, mate. It's getting the truth out. That's all it's about. Getting them people, getting that message out there. Whatever your message is, mate. Whatever's coming through you, mate. Whatever you need to get out, you need to get it out. That's just how it is. Well done, lad. Well done. That is a lot of views, mate. 39,000 one day. That's sick, mate. Big fist up to that.
Mind of God says, I'm getting calls from Sleepy Warriors Masonic Lodge every hour. And he's put on 150 subs, which is pretty awesome. You get to 1,000 subs, that would be ace, actually. So anybody got anything else, or do you want to wrap up for today?
Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I could be done, mate. I'm not fussed about it anymore, mate. If everyone wants an early night, that's good.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll put the Mind of God's channel link in the description. And you know, guys, I mean, he's here all the time. You know, he pops on the show all the time. You know this guy. Go and subscribe to him. Click that link. Subscribe. Let's get him to 1,000 subscribers, because it'd be nice to have him doing some live streams and stuff. So yeah, all good. Right, okay, so, well, with that, and thank you everybody that's joined this evening. We've had a few panellists on. Flat Earth Data, Right the Hand joined. We had a Ruhif before. We've got Rude Earther here, Gleam. Anyone else? I think that's it. So, yeah, I'll try and do a show tomorrow. As for now, that'll do for now, and I'll see you all.
Yeah, big shout out everyone in chat. Nice one for listening to a little presentation at the start and that again. I know it can be irritating, but cheers anyway. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. See you later.